Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles. Chapter 2492. Although he was muttering to himself, it was particularly ear-piercing in the silence of the mountain peak. Watching a good show. Enter the Divine Weapon Pavilion. Don't tell me he still wants to get the only supreme artifact in the Divine Weapon Pavilion. His luck is already heaven-defying enough to obtain a supreme artifact. Now he wants a supreme artifact. How greedy. Just watch. When he comes out later, he will definitely have a disappointed and depressed expression. Everyone was discussing. Luck wasn't always that good. The 10th elder also had a trace of ridicule in his eyes. After obtaining a supreme artifact, he began to become arrogant. Did he think he could easily obtain a supreme artifact? He was ridiculously naive. Even the white-clothed woman could not help but want to laugh. This kid, there was nothing wrong with him. Did he think that the Divine Weapon Pavilion was opened by his family? Qin Feiyang grabbed the token and embedded it in the groove of the door. The door of the Divine Weapon Pavilion immediately opened slowly. Subsequently, Qin Feiyang entered the Divine Weapon Pavilion under the gaze of countless people. Interesting. The young man lying on the back of the snow python muttered, but he did not open his eyes from beginning to end. Inside the Divine Weapon Pavilion, there were a total of 3 floors. Rows of iron shelves were neatly arranged, with long iron boxes placed on them. Each iron box was 3 meters long and half a meter wide. Just from the appearance, they were all exactly the same. It was hard to tell what kind of artifact was inside. Qin Feiyang stood in front of the door, glanced at the iron boxes on the shelves, and injected his divine sense into the token. Merit points, 15,000 points. Each entry cost 1,000 points. For others, whether it was entering the Divine Weapon Pavilion or the Divine Weapon Pavilion, it was all a gamble of luck. But for Qin Feiyang, as long as he could enter, he would definitely gain something. After putting away the token, Qin Feiyang raised his head and strode forward. He looked to the east and looked to the west. He walked along the rows of iron shelves as if he was taking a leisurely stroll. After a while, he finished the first floor and walked to the second floor. He walked through the second floor as if he was taking a stroll and entered the third floor. About half an hour passed. Qin Feiyang stopped at the staircase. He seemed to be waiting for something. This place was just like the deity technique treasury. No matter how you tried to figure it out, you would never be able to deduce the location of the supreme deity artifact. Because every iron box was exactly the same. Furthermore, not only could the iron box prevent the prying of divine sense, it could also block the aura of a divine artifact. It was so tight that it was impossible to tell if it was a sword, a saber, a hammer, or a spear, let alone the grade of a divine weapon. Unless he could see through the iron box. However, Qin Feiyang couldn't do that at the moment. You brat, didn't you say you wanted to keep a low profile? Why are you doing such a high-profile thing now? Suddenly, a familiar voice sounded in Qin Feiyang's mind. Keep a low profile and do things in a high-profile manner. Qin Feiyang snickered. Haha, then I'm afraid it will be difficult for you to keep a low profile in the future. The shadowless man laughed. Actually, I've always been very low-key, okay? But if you keep a low profile, there will always be people who want to bully you. There's no other way. Qin Feiyang was helpless. Ever since he entered the Dragon God Palace, he had wanted to keep a low profile and avoid some trouble. But every now and then, someone would come looking for trouble. What could he do? Since keeping a low profile was also troublesome, then he might as well keep a high profile for once, vent the anger in his heart, and also see the wonderful expressions of the dragons. It was not a loss. Alright, as you wish. The 5th row of iron shelves on the 2nd floor, the 3rd floor, the 4th iron box from the right. The shadowless man said. Thank you. Qin Feiyang secretly thanked him, then turned and walked towards the second floor, saying, "Speaking of which, I really want to see you." All along, the shadowless man had been helping him selflessly in the dark. There were even several times when he was in despair and helpless. It was the shadowless man who came out to comfort him, encourage him, and make him pull himself together again. Therefore, he was extremely grateful to the shadowless man. He really wanted to say thank you in person. However, the shadowless man was just like his name, without a trace. No one knew where he was, and no one knew who he was. There will be a chance. The shadowless man smiled. You big shots all like to pretend to be mysterious. Qin Feiyang was helpless. You're wrong about that. I'm not a big shot. Just like you, I'm just a speck of dust in this world. The shadowless man said with a faint smile. A speck of dust, Qin Feiyang murmured. There was no way to refute this. Very soon. Qin Feiyang followed the shadowless man's instructions and found the designated iron box. Qin Feiyang did not hesitate and directly grabbed the iron box. The next moment, he appeared outside the gate of the Divine Weapon Pavilion. He's out. Everyone looked at Qin Feiyang. To be exact, they were looking at the iron box in Qin Feiyang's hands. Qin Feiyang glanced at the crowd, put the iron box on the ground, and then slowly opened it. However, as the iron box was opened, there was no powerful aura, nor was there any bright divine light overflowing. It was as if there was just an ordinary divine weapon inside. No. It was not even comparable to the most ordinary divine weapon. This was because even an ordinary divine artifact possessed divine might. But there was no divine power in this iron box at all. Did you see it? Did you see it? This is luck. Being able to get a supreme divine technique does not mean that you can get a supreme divine weapon. Looking at it, I'm afraid that the thing inside the iron box is trash that can't even be considered a divine weapon. Everyone laughed. Everyone's luck is limited. The 10th elder snorted coldly. Although it was just a simple sentence, it was full of sarcasm. But Qin Feiyang turned a deaf ear to these voices. Because he believed that the shadowless man's judgment would not be wrong. Clang! Finally. The iron box was opened. A black bead appeared in the air. The bead was about the size of a pellet. Not only was it simple and unadorned, but it also did not have the aura of a divine weapon. Just this broken bead? At first glance, I can tell that it's a cheap item. Everyone's eyes were full of disdain. It was a waste to get such a thing for 1,000 merit points. However, the woman in white stared at the black bead with a trace of surprise in her eyes. It seemed to be somewhat familiar. Qin Feiyang took out the bead and looked at it curiously for a while. Then he cut his finger and dripped his blood to recognize it as its owner. Buzz! When the blood dripped on the bead, the originally simple and unadorned bead suddenly emitted a bright divine light. What? Everyone, who was full of disdain before, suddenly had a face full of surprise. This divine light, compared to a pinnacle divine weapon, no. It was more dazzling than a legendary divine weapon. No way. This was a supreme divine weapon. How could it be? Everyone shook their heads. The 10th elder was also extremely surprised at this moment. Looking at Qin Feiyang at this time, there was a trace of incomparable excitement in his eyes. Because the moment the blood merged with the bead, a message poured into his mind. Supreme divine weapon, soul-calming divine bead. The so-called soul-calming divine bead was to protect the divine soul. In other words, this was a supreme divine weapon that specialized in protecting the divine soul. Whether it was humans, dragons, or other creatures, the divine soul was undoubtedly the most important and also the most fragile. Once the divine soul was gone, even if there was a heaven-defying divine pill, there was no way to save it. From this, one could imagine how precious a sovereign-grade divine artifact that could protect the soul was. It could be said that the value of the soul-calming divine bead surpassed all supreme divine weapons of the same level. This is, the woman in white seemed to have thought of something and muttered to herself, her face full of disbelief. How heaven-defying was this kid's tone that he could even get such a divine weapon. Lord Ancestral Dragon, noticing the woman in white's reaction, the 10th elder looked at her in surprise. Could it be that the bead was really a supreme divine weapon? But even a supreme divine weapon could not make the Ancestral Dragon lose his composure like this. Because the Ancestral Dragon even had a heaven-defying divine weapon. That is the soul-calming divine bead. The woman in white looked at the 10th elder and sighed. Soul-calming divine bead? Everyone was suspicious. The soul-calming divine bead is a supreme divine weapon, its only function is to protect the divine soul. Although it has only this function, although it does not have a powerful killing power, it is still incomparable to other supreme divine weapons. The woman in white explained. What? A supreme divine weapon that protects the divine soul. Everyone's mind buzzed when they heard this. Everyone present was at least a war god, so they all knew the importance of the divine soul. Protecting the divine soul, this was a divine weapon that many people dreamed of. How heaven-defying was this Li Buer's luck? The first time he entered the divine technique treasury, he obtained the supreme divine technique Qilin skill. The first time he entered the divine weapon pavilion, he obtained the supreme divine weapon soul-calming divine bead. Did he step on dog shit when he went out? Impossible, absolutely impossible. After the 10th elder heard this, he also shook his head, his face full of disbelief. No matter how lucky he was, it was impossible to obtain a supreme divine technique and a supreme divine weapon consecutively. It was also at this moment. Qin Feiyang raised his head to look at the 10th elder and said with a smile, "Are you surprised? Are you surprised?" The 10th elder clenched his fists and roared, "Lord Ancestral Dragon, there must be a problem." Other than this explanation, he could not find any other reason. Yes. Lord, he must have some way to see what's inside the iron box. Lord, you must investigate thoroughly. He's cheating. Everyone roared. Envy, jealousy, hatred. This was human nature. If you can't get it, you don't want others to get it. Cheating. Are you doubting the ability of the dragons? Qin Feiyang asked with a smile. Someone said angrily, cheating is cheating, what does it have to do with the ability of the dragons? The divine weapon pavilion and the divine technique treasury were both created by the dragons. Now that you say that I'm cheating, isn't that doubting the ability of the dragons? Qin Feiyang laughed. That's not what we mean. Don't talk nonsense. Someone immediately roared in anger out of humiliation. Then what do you mean? Just because you're jealous of me, you're saying that I'm cheating? Jealousy is something that only incompetent people have. Have you all admitted your incompetence? Qin Feiyang pursed his lips into a mocking smile. Everyone glared at Qin Feiyang, gnashing their teeth in hatred. The key point was that there was nothing they could do. Chapter 2493. Jealousy will only make people fall behind. Only by being humble can one improve. All of you, you must remember this. Qin Feiyang looked at those people and smiled like an old man. Then, with a thought, the soul fixation divine pearl immediately disappeared. Everyone gritted their teeth and stared at Qin Feiyang. He actually dared to preach to them. In his knowledge sea. As soon as the soul anchoring pearl appeared, it floated beside Qin Feiyang's soul, emitting rays of divine light, protecting his soul. At this moment, Qin Feiyang felt safer than ever. In the future, other than a heaven-defying divine artifact, what else could pose a threat to his soul? Moreover, this soul-anchoring pearl had a chance to evolve into a heaven-defying divine artifact. What he lacked now was the power of law. At that time, once the power of law was bestowed, when the soul-anchoring pearl evolved into a heaven-defying divine artifact, even if his opponent also had a heaven-defying divine artifact, they wouldn't be able to harm his soul. I've profited. Qin Feiyang smiled. The Shadowless was really a reliable guy. But who was he exactly? Gathering his thoughts, Qin Feiyang looked at the Divine Weapon Pavilion, then at the Divine Technique Treasury. In the end, he decided to enter the treasury. He had already obtained a lot of divine artifacts from the treasury, but there weren't many powerful divine techniques in the Black Tortoise world. It was time to seek blessings for the Black Tortoise world. He went to the treasury again. I really want to follow him and see how he found these divine techniques and divine artifacts. I don't believe that there is someone in this world with such good luck. The people around were ready to make a move. But no one dared to enter the treasury. Because in their eyes, Qin Feiyang was an existence that they couldn't afford to offend. I'll go take a look. The white-robed woman spoke. In a flash, she appeared in front of the treasury. She didn't use any token or merit points and directly walked in. Qin Feiyang was wandering around. When he saw the white-clothed woman enter, he was speechless. You really suspect that I'm cheating? The woman in white didn't say a word. She just stared at Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang smiled helplessly and continued to wander around. After a short while, he casually grabbed a jade box and disappeared. So casual. The white-clothed woman was stunned. She grabbed another jade box and left the treasury. Outside, the two of them appeared one after another. The white-clothed woman glanced at the jade box in her hand and then looked at the jade box in Qin Feiyang's hand. There seemed to be a trace of expectation and also a trace of nervousness in her eyes. Qin Feiyang smiled at the white-clothed woman and opened the jade box. A flame immediately rushed out. This aura, everyone's heart trembled. Qin Feiyang grabbed the jade slip inside and checked it for a bit. He smiled and said, "My luck is really too heaven-defying. Legendary level divine art, White Tiger True Technique." What? Another legendary deity technique. Everyone's eyes trembled. What kind of heaven-defying luck was this? The white-clothed woman was also extremely shocked. She opened the jade box that she collected and saw that there was only one inferior deity technique. A legendary level divine artifact and an inferior deity technique. This was a huge difference. If she didn't see it with her own eyes that Qin Feiyang just casually took a jade box, she would really suspect that Qin Feiyang cheated. Qin Feiyang chuckled, put away the jade box, and turned to enter the treasury. The white-clothed woman immediately followed him in. And the 10th elder also ran in. This time, Qin Feiyang still just casually took a jade box. The white-clothed woman and the 10th elder didn't believe it and also took a jade box. The result came out. Inside Qin Feiyang's jade box, there was another legendary level deity technique. And the jade boxes that the white-clothed woman and the 10th elder took out were respectively an inferior deity technique and a middle deity technique. What the hell? Could it be that he is the chosen one? His luck is so heaven-defying. People couldn't believe it. How could there be such a freak? Every time he went in, he would get the best deity technique. He went in again. Under everyone's gazes, Qin Feiyang once again entered the deity technique treasury. The white-clothed woman and the 10th elder were like two little followers, following Qin Feiyang all the time. When Qin Feiyang went up to the second floor and was about to grab a jade box, the 10th elder took a step forward and grabbed the jade box. You still want to grab this? Qin Feiyang was speechless. Then, under the white-clothed woman's gaze, he grabbed another jade box. And when he went out, the jade box that the 10th elder grabbed was only a middle deity technique. What Qin Feiyang took out was another legendary grade deity technique. What's going on? The 10th elder looked at the jade slip in his hand in astonishment. This was obviously what Qin Feiyang wanted. Why was it only a middle deity technique? This is luck. Qin Feiyang smiled proudly and entered the treasury again. Finally, everyone couldn't help it. After the white-clothed woman and the 10th elder followed in, they also took out their identity tokens and swarmed in. Although it was a bit of a waste of merits, they really wanted to know how Qin Feiyang chose the jade box. But, they were disappointed. Qin Feiyang still took a jade box casually and didn't choose anything. However, he got a legendary level deity technique again. And this time, there were hundreds of people who entered. Before they came out, they also grabbed a jade box casually like Qin Feiyang. But among the hundreds of people, the best deity technique was a perfect deity technique. Isn't this too outrageous? There are so many of us, but we don't even have a peak deity technique. And he is alone. As long as he goes in, he will definitely get a legendary level deity technique. Is he cheating? Everyone was incredulous. Of course, Qin Feiyang wouldn't say that a mysterious expert was helping him. And every time he did it casually, it was done on purpose. Time passed little by little. Qin Feiyang had already entered the treasury 9 times. And all 9 times, it was a legendary level deity technique. Everyone was numb. It was too abnormal. If it was really due to luck, then this person was definitely the chosen one. After entering the treasury 9 times, Qin Feiyang went to the Divine Weapon Pavilion. Because according to the Shadowless Man, there were no more legendary level deity techniques in the treasury. The highest level was the peak deity technique. Yes. The sovereign level deity technique and legendary level deity technique in the treasury were all out of stock. And the peak deity technique naturally didn't have much of a temptation for the current Qin Feiyang. It was better to get a few more legendary level deity techniques. In addition to the Qilin technique and the serious demonic book, Qin Feiyang got a sovereign level deity technique and 10 legendary level deity techniques in the treasury. The only regret was that after taking away the Qilin technique, the Dragon God Palace still hadn't put the sovereign level deity technique in. If he put it in, he could get another sovereign level deity technique. After entering the Divine Weapon Pavilion once and the treasury 9 times, Qin Feiyang still had 6,000 merit points left. He could still enter the Divine Weapon Pavilion 6 times. And these 6 times, he got another 6 legendary level deity techniques. The white-clothed woman kept following him, watching as the legendary level deity techniques fell into Qin Feiyang's pockets one after another. Her heart was bleeding. Cheating. He didn't catch it. Luck. Even if the heavens were watching over him, it was impossible to have such luck. Could he see through the jade box? Metal box? That was even more impossible. Because as the ancestral dragon, she couldn't see through the contents of the jade and metal boxes. She couldn't figure it out. How did Qin Feiyang do it? There must be more legendary level deity techniques in the Divine Weapon Pavilion. 10th Elder, come, let me exchange some more merit points. Qin Feiyang looked at the 10th Elder and smiled. The 10th Elder's face turned green. You want to go in? Lord. The 10th Elder looked helplessly at the white-clothed woman. Cough cough. The white-clothed woman coughed dryly, looked at Qin Feiyang and said, Stop while you're ahead. Lord Ancestral Dragon, what do you mean by that? Aren't the Divine Weapon Pavilion and the Deity Technique Treasury open to us disciples? Qin Feiyang was suspicious. The white-clothed woman's expression was rather awkward as she said, although you're right, you've already obtained so much. That's because I was lucky that I was able to obtain these deity techniques and deity techniques. It can't be that you guys are so stingy that you won't let me in after seeing that I've obtained the deity techniques and deity techniques, right? Let me go in a few more times while I'm still lucky. Qin Feiyang laughed. The white-clothed woman didn't know what to do for a moment. This was because the existence of the divine weapon pavilion and the deity technique treasury was indeed for the disciples below. However, if this continued, who knew how many more deity techniques he would lose? To the Dragon God Palace, this was a huge loss. Li Buer, you should be content. There's already so much. Some disciples were dissatisfied. What does it have to do with you? No way. Qin Feiyang said. If you take away all the good deity techniques in one go, what will we do in the future? Someone said angrily. Won't the Dragon God Palace make up for it? What are you afraid of? Besides, isn't there still the second island, the third island, the fourth island? These places also have the divine weapon pavilion and the deity technique treasury. Qin Feiyang laughed. The white-clothed woman's heart trembled. This person couldn't be thinking about the divine weapon pavilion and the deity technique treasury on the other islands, right? Qin Feiyang looked at the white-clothed woman and laughed. Master, let's exchange for some more merit points. I have the medicinal ingredients. The white-clothed woman shook her head. That's boring. Qin Feiyang shook his head helplessly, and said, Fine, I'll come again when you guys make up for the supreme deity techniques and deity tools, then I won't disturb you guys any longer, goodbye. Qin Feiyang waved his hand and turned to leave. What the hell? He'll come again when we get the supreme deity techniques and deity tools. Is he trying to squeeze the Dragon God Palace dry? Everyone was speechless. Master, you're letting him go just like that. There's something fishy about this matter. The 10th elder looked at Qin Feiyang's back and said to the white-clothed woman. Everyone knows there's something fishy, but do you have any evidence? You've been following him, did you see him cheat? The white-clothed woman rubbed her forehead. So many deity techniques and deity tools were all gone. The Dragon God Palace had never suffered such a loss in all its years of existence. The 10th elder was unwilling to accept this. Not only was he humiliated in public, but he also took away so many deity techniques and deity tools. Give an order immediately. The white-clothed woman gritted her teeth and looked at the 10th elder. Chapter 2494. What order? The 10th elder was suspicious. The other disciples also looked at the woman in white in confusion. Only the young man was indifferent and snoring. This made everyone speechless. How could he still fall asleep at this time? The woman in white said, Order all the island masters to immediately withdraw the supreme level and legendary level divine weapons and divine arts. What? Withdraw the supreme level and legendary level divine weapons and divine arts. If that's the case, wouldn't the highest grade of divine weapon pavilion and divine art treasury be the pinnacle grade divine art and divine art? Everyone was stunned. For Li Buer, they actually changed the rules of the divine weapon pavilion and divine arts treasury. The woman in white looked at the disciples and sighed, this can't be helped. Please understand. Everyone was silent. Indeed. If they didn't withdraw the supreme level and legendary level divine arts and divine weapons now, they would probably fall into Li Buer's hands. This guy was really ruthless. He even forced the ancestral dragon to this point. The 10th elder looked at the woman in white and asked, What about the first island? Maintain the status quo. The woman in white said. Her meaning was obvious. No more supreme level and legendary level divine arts and divine weapons. Master. This is not a long-term solution. Yeah. We still want to try our luck. The disciples around said. When Chief Palace Master Yi Zhong returns, I will look for him to discuss a solution. After all, most of the rules of the Dragon God Palace were set by him. The woman in white said. All right. The disciples nodded. Headache. The woman in white rubbed her forehead, looked at the young man, and turned to leave. The snow python looked at the woman in white and returned to the disciplinary hall with the sleeping young man. The disciples also left in twos and threes. Little bastard, I will not let you go. The 10th elder looked at the direction of Qin Feiyang's cave residence with a trace of killing intent in his eyes. He then turned and entered the deacon hall. I really didn't expect it to end like this. Lin Hua also shook his head and sighed. The name Li Bu, would become a legend. Lin Hua, come in. At this time, 10th elder's voice rang out in the deacon hall. Lin Hua came back to his senses and hurriedly turned around and ran into the duty hall. The 10th elder sat beside the tea table and said sternly, I have a mission for you, back to Qin Feiyang. After returning to the cavern, he entered the ancient castle and handed over the divine arts and divine artifacts to the Fire Lotus. So many. Fire Lotus was surprised. Qin Feiyang shook his head and said regretfully, if I had known, would have exchanged more contribution points. Are you really going to rob them all? Fire Lotus was stunned. Qin Feiyang was stunned and said unhappily, girl, why have you also learned bad things? How am I bad? Fire Lotus looked at him in confusion. Qin Feiyang said, I used my merit points to enter openly. How can this be called robbery? Fire Lotus could not help but laugh. But, what was the difference between this and robbery? Qin Dage, I am also curious. Why do you always get such good divine artifacts and divine arts every time you go in? Fire Lotus asked. Qin Feiyang smiled and said, didn't I say that I have a benefactor helping me? Fire Lotus said, but you didn't say who the benefactor is? I can't say, I can't say. Qin Feiyang shook his head and smiled. Fire Lotus was helpless and kept him in suspense. Qin Feiyang said, leave a legendary divine artifact for the big black wolf. As for the rest, you can do as you see fit. He already had enough divine arts and did not need any more. As for divine artifacts, the Azure Phoenix Sword and Coiling Dragon Staff were enough. Okay. Fire Lotus nodded. Qin Feiyang scanned the hall and asked, where are Feng Daji and Hui Yi? Feng Daji is in seclusion to reconstruct his body. Hui Yi is outside watching the golden sea python. Fire Lotus said. The sea python hasn't fused yet. Qin Feiyang was stunned. Although only 2 hours had passed outside, many years had passed in the castle. It should be soon. Fire Lotus said. Qin Feiyang turned and walked out of the castle. He saw Hui Yi sitting in the courtyard, drinking wine while looking at the golden sea python not far away. Your wine, Qin Feiyang smelled the fragrance of wine from afar. When he got closer, he found that it was the heavenly immortal wine. Hui Yi laughed and said, it's not easy to return to the northern region. Naturally, I have to go to the eastern tomb's heaven immortal tower. For Hui Yi, wine was indispensable. So when he returned to the northern region, he specially went to the heaven immortal tower. Qin Feiyang said, so, you met the young miss of the heaven immortal tower? Of course. A few hundred jars of heavenly immortal wine. As long as she asks, the heaven immortal tower will dare to sell it to me. Hui Yi said. A few hundred jars. Qin Feiyang's body stiffened. A total of 500 jars. But it's still not enough. Hui Yi shook his head. You might as well go and brew wine yourself. Qin Feiyang was speechless. 500 jars of heavenly immortal wine wasn't enough. Did this guy really think that he was an alcoholic? Don't talk about it. I really went to the young miss of the heaven immortal tower to ask for the heavenly immortal wine's brewing formula. In the end, she directly chased me out. Hui Yi had an unhappy look on his face. You are really shameless. Qin Feiyang was speechless to the extreme. Why was the heaven immortal tower so famous? It was because of the heavenly immortal wine. He actually went to ask for the heavenly immortal wine's brewing formula. Wasn't this the same as snatching the lifeblood of others? Being chased out was already considered light. If the young miss of the heaven immortal tower was strong enough, she would most probably kill him with a single slap. Hui even had an unhappy look on his face. He really admired how shameless this guy was. Shameless? Good things should be shared with everyone. Hui pouted. After speaking, a mocking look flashed in his eyes. He looked at Qin Feiyang and said, "Do you know? This young miss of the Heaven Immortal Tower even specially inquired about your situation." Inquired about my situation? Qin Feiyang was stunned. Yes. She seems to be very concerned about you. Hui had a playful look on his face. Qin Feiyang raised his eyebrows and said, "What are you trying to say? Don't you know what I want to say? I really don't understand. You are such a dull person. How can you be so popular with women?" Hui touched his chin and scrutinized Qin Feiyang. Cough, cough. Qin Feiyang coughed dryly and shook his head. Don't play matchmaker. Shengguan Qiu and I were messed up by you guys. Otherwise, how could things have turned out like this? Some things, if they didn't say it out loud, even they wouldn't realize it. For example, Shengguan Qiu. If it wasn't for the people beside him talking nonsense all day long, Shengguan Qiu probably wouldn't even think in this direction. Gossip was a fearful thing. This saying was indeed true. You don't know how lucky you are. Little you, doesn't object to you having multiple wives. Why are you still so pretentious? Hui looked at him with disdain. I'm different from you. I have to be loyal to my feelings. Qin Feiyang said. Hui was slightly stunned and puzzled. Why do you give yourself such restrictions? Because of my family background. My father has many concubines. But other than fighting and scheming against each other all day long, what's the use of them? It's tiring just to look at them. And my mother. Although she was the empress and looked glorious on the surface, I don't know how much she suffered behind the scenes. So I don't want my women to be burdened like my mother. Qin Feiyang said. I see. Hui nodded in realization. Boom. At this moment, a terrifying aura erupted. Qin Feiyang and Hui immediately looked over and saw that the aura came from the golden sea python. At this moment, the golden sea python slowly rose into the air, its whole body shining with golden light. But its eyes were still closed, as if it was in a deep sleep. However, its aura was rapidly transforming. In its aura, there was a trace of dragon's might. And this dragon's might was getting stronger and stronger. And its body was also changing rapidly. The snake scales all over its body were transforming into dragon scales. The dragon horns on its head were pure, as if cast in gold. There were also 5 bulges under its abdomen, getting bigger and bigger. As if something was about to emerge from its flesh and blood. Hum. All of a sudden, the golden sea python roared towards the sky, and it actually let out a loud dragon roar. Its face also became distorted, as if it was in pain. Crack. About 10 breaths passed. The snake scales under its abdomen suddenly shattered, its flesh and blood were torn, and 2 claws emerged. These were dragon claws. As soon as the dragon claws appeared, the snake scales on its body also turned into dragon scales one after another. Its body shape was also changing rapidly. Boom. Crack. However, at this moment, blood clouds suddenly surged in the sky. Streaks of blood-colored lightning flashed crazily in the clouds. This is heavenly tribulation. Qin Feiyang and Hui were stunned. The carp leaping over the dragon gate actually had to go through a baptism of tribulation. Qin Feiyang, can the black tortoise realm withstand it? Hui came back to his senses and hurriedly asked. This, Qin Feiyang scanned the black tortoise realm, and he really didn't know if it could withstand the golden sea python's heavenly tribulation. It definitely couldn't before it merged with the ancient castle. Because the black tortoise realm was too fragile. And now, the Black Tortoise realm had merged with the ancient castle, and the Black Tortoise realm had become as tough as the ancient castle. But one had to know that the Golden Sea Python was a half-step indestructible. He had never experienced a half-step indestructible heavenly tribulation, so he didn't know if the Black Tortoise realm could withstand it. Back then, the Fire Lotus had undergone a tribulation, but at that time, the Fire Lotus's cultivation had not recovered to its peak state. So, the Fire Lotus's heavenly tribulation was far inferior to the Golden Sea Python's heavenly tribulation. Hua Yi said in a deep voice, "If you can't hold on, then hurry up and get out." Qin Feiyang frowned and scanned the sky with blood clouds. A smile gradually appeared on his face, and he said, "I think it should be able to hold on." "What do you mean?" Hua Yi was suspicious. Why did he suddenly become so confident? "If I can't hold on, that little brat will definitely run out first." Qin Feiyang said. "That's good." Hua Yi nodded. "But I definitely can't undergo the tribulation here." Qin Feiyang scanned the medicinal field. If he were to undergo the tribulation here, then this medicinal field, crystal vein, and spirit vein would definitely be destroyed. However, just as Qin Feiyang was about to leave the Devil's Land with the Golden Sea Python, a black divine light suddenly rushed out of the ancient castle next to them. Looking at this sudden change, Qin Feiyang and Hui Yi's eyes were filled with a trace of surprise. Crack! A blood-red bolt of lightning struck down. The Golden Sea Python also opened its eyes, looking at the lightning power, its eyes were filled with fear. Shrouded in the aura of the heavenly tribulation, it could feel the power of the heavenly tribulation more clearly than Qin Feiyang and Hui Yi. It had no confidence in surviving this tribulation. The sea serpent let out a loud dragon roar, and the last step of its transformation was completed. A 5-clawed golden dragon appeared out of nowhere. The dragon's scales all over his body seemed to be made of gold as they emitted a dazzling radiance. However, the symbol of the ancestral dragon did not appear on its forehead. This meant that the ancestral golden dragon was indeed still alive. This was because there could only be one ancestral dragon in the world. If the former didn't die, the future generations would never be able to give birth to a second ancestral dragon. The sea python was extremely excited. Its enormous body was trembling. That was not right. It should be called the 5-clawed golden dragon now. Boom! But in the next moment, the aura in its body surged out uncontrollably. The 5-clawed golden dragon was stunned. Qin Feiyang and Hui Yi were also stunned. This seemed to be a breakthrough. Sure enough, the 5-clawed golden dragon's aura soared all the way. In just a few breaths, its aura broke through the shackles of the half-step undying realm and stepped into the initial undying realm. Hua Yi was stunned. It actually broke through to the initial undying realm. This sea serpent had really obtained a great fortune. The 5-clawed golden dragon was also stunned for a long time. It had never expected that fusing with the divine body of the ancestral dragon would bring it such great benefits. Not only did it transform into a 5-clawed golden dragon, but it also broke through a realm. In the undying realm, the gap between each small realm was comparable to the previous big realm. The difference between the half-step undying realm and the initial undying realm was like heaven and earth. The initial undying realm could even kill the half-step undying realm. Moreover, after reaching the half-step undying realm, it was harder to break through a small realm than to reach the sky. A large number of creatures would be trapped in the half-step undying realm for the rest of their lives until they died of old age. It could be said that in the imperishable realm, there was an insurmountable chasm between every small realm. Not bad, not bad. Qin Feiyang was also very gratified. First, Hui Yi stepped into the initial undying realm, and now the 5-clawed golden dragon broke through to the initial undying realm. The strength of the Black Tortoise realm had increased by a large margin. One day, when the Sunset Divine Bout truly received the allegiance of the 4 heaven-defying divine artifacts, its strength would become even stronger. I can already see hope. The dragons are not so far away. Qin Feiyang murmured. Thank you. The 5-clawed golden dragon withdrew its aura and flew in front of Qin Feiyang, its huge eyes full of gratitude. If it hadn't been for the help of the ancient castle, even with such an opportunity, it would not have been able to transform successfully. Because it had no confidence in surviving the 99 heavenly tribulations. Qin Feiyang said, "Don't thank me. It was the ancient castle that helped you, not me. It's all the same. You helped me, and I will do my best to help you. No matter what happens in the future, I will stand with you." The 5-clawed golden dragon promised. At least you have some conscience. Hua Yi smiled. What does this have to do with you? The 5-clawed golden dragon glanced at Hua Yi with an extremely arrogant expression. What? Hua Yi was stunned. The one who helped this emperor to transcend the tribulation was Qin Feiyang, and the one who controlled this emperor was also Qin Feiyang. What right do you have to speak? The 5-clawed golden dragon disdained. Hua Yi raised his eyebrows and said, "Are you turning your back on me? That's strange. Is this emperor familiar with you?" The 5-clawed golden dragon looked at him suspiciously. You're really ruthless. You're more white-eyed wolf than the white-eyed wolf. If it weren't for me, would you have survived? If it weren't for me speaking up for you, would you have gotten the divine body of the golden dragon ancestral dragon? Hua Yi said angrily. That's also because of you. You made this emperor be controlled by Qin Feiyang. As for the divine body of the golden dragon ancestral dragon, this emperor shamelessly asked Qin Feiyang for it. It has nothing to do with you. So, even if this emperor works for you, it will be for Qin Feiyang. It has nothing to do with you. The 5-clawed golden dragon snorted coldly. Say that again. Hua Yi raised his eyebrows and said angrily. What? You want to fight? Come, come, come. Don't use the heaven-defying divine artifact. See how this emperor will beat you. The 5-clawed golden dragon clamored. They were both at the initial level of the immortal realm. As long as they didn't use the heaven-defying divine artifact, who was afraid of who? Hua Yi was furious. After transforming into a 5-clawed golden dragon and breaking through to the initial level of the immortal realm, he turned hostile on the spot. Couldn't there be more trust between a human and a dragon? I'm not going to talk nonsense with you. You want this emperor to be your mount? No way. The 5-clawed golden dragon snorted coldly, turned into a stream of light, and merged into Qin Feiyang's wrist. Qin Feiyang was stunned. He looked down and saw the golden dragon coiled around his wrist. It looked like an exquisite golden bracelet. You have no conscience. Hua Yi lamented. If he had known earlier, he would have killed him with a slap in the internal sea. Qin Feiyang couldn't help but laugh. He didn't expect that in the end, it was him who got a big bargain. Laugh your ass. Hua Yi glared at Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang said loudly, Fire Lotus, someone is scolding you. Fire Lotus walked over and raised her eyebrows. Who's scolding me? Him. Qin Feiyang pointed at Hua Yi. Hua Yi's expression changed, and he hurriedly said, Don't talk nonsense. When did I scold her? You're joking. Then my sister is Fire Lotus. If you're not scolding her, then who are you scolding? Qin Feiyang laughed. Bastard, shameless. No wonder even the 5-clawed golden dragon would follow you. You're the same kind of trash. Hua Yi gritted his teeth and stared at Qin Feiyang, but when he saw Fire Lotus's unkind eyes, he immediately soared into the sky and fled. That's not right. Why am I running? My current cultivation is stronger than Fire Lotus. I can suppress her with a wave of my hand. Forget it, a good man doesn't fight with a woman. Women were indeed creatures without conscience. How long had she followed Qin Feiyang, this bastard? She actually sided with him. This guy. Fire Lotus shook her head and smiled. Looking at the five-clawed golden dragon on Qin Feiyang's wrist, she said in surprise, "It's actually five-clawed? What's wrong?" Qin Feiyang was suspicious. Generally, golden dragons have 4 claws. 5-clawed golden dragons are very rare. I guess only the patriarch of the Golden Dragon clan and the ancestral dragon are 5-clawed golden dragons. Fire Lotus said with a smile. Qin Feiyang nodded his head, looked at the 5-clawed golden dragon on his wrist, and said, "I'm a little worried about a problem." "What problem?" Fire Lotus looked at him suspiciously. Qin Feiyang said, "It has fused with the divine body of the ancestral dragon, so it must more or less carry the aura of the ancestral dragon. When it faces the dragons, will it be discovered by the dragons? It won't." The 5-clawed golden dragon's voice sounded. "What do you mean?" Qin Feiyang lowered his head and looked at the 5-clawed golden dragon. After the baptism of the heavenly tribulation, the aura of the ancestral dragon has been completely erased. Now, even if this emperor and the ancestral dragon collide face to face, it won't know that this emperor has fused with its divine body. The 5-clawed golden dragon said. "Really?" Qin Feiyang asked. "And?" The 5-clawed golden dragon replied. "That's good." Qin Feiyang smiled. In this way, he could bring the 5-clawed golden dragon out without any scruples. And with the protection of this 5-clawed golden dragon, even if he faced the beginner immortal dragons, he would have the confidence. Naturally, not to mention those half-step immortal dragons. Why did the ancient castle leave the power of the heavenly tribulation? At this time, Fire Lotus looked up at the 99 power of the heavenly tribulation in the sky with a trace of suspicion in her eyes. Qin Feiyang looked up and couldn't help but ponder. Could it be? Qin Feiyang's eyes suddenly flashed with a trace of surprise. "What is it?" Fire Lotus asked. "I think the ancient castle should want to leave the power of the heavenly tribulation like last time, waiting for an excellent opportunity to forcibly break the seal of the small beast." Qin Feiyang said. "Small beast, how strong is its cultivation? It can even seal the ancient castle that has fused with the Black Tortoise realm and almost surpassed a divine artifact." Fire Lotus whispered. Every time she thought of the small beast, she couldn't help but feel a chill in her heart. "I don't know how strong it is, but I'm sure that its cultivation has definitely surpassed the immortal realm." Qin Feiyang said. Every time he thought of the golden small beast, a sense of powerlessness rose in his heart. The 5-clawed golden dragon was also extremely surprised when he heard the conversation between the two. The small beast that sealed the ancient castle. Beyond the immortal realm? There was such an existence in the world. Wasn't the strongest under the starry sky the dragon sovereign? It was beyond imagination. Chapter 2496. Buzz. Suddenly, the image crystal rang. Qin Feiyang took out the image crystal, and 3 shadows quickly appeared. The 3 of them were Jiang Dafei, Li Changhe, and Wang Daoyuan. "Greetings, young lord." "Greetings, young master." The 3 of them bowed. "You must have been busy during this period of time." Qin Feiyang looked at the 3 of them with a smile. Li Changhe said respectfully, "This is what we should do." Qin Feiyang asked, "Then why are you sending me a message now? Is there a problem?" "You've already given us the list, how could there be any problem? We sent you a message to ask you to come over and take a look." Wang Daoyuan smiled. "Look at what?" Qin Feiyang was puzzled. Wang Daoyuan said, "Didn't you say that you want to control everyone? The people on the list have been gathered by us and are waiting for you." "Where?" Qin Feiyang asked. Wang Daoyuan said, outside the Holy Dragon City, Black Tortoise Mountain. After saying that, the three of them gave Qin Feiyang a few coordinates. Okay. I'll be right there. Qin Feiyang turned off the image crystal and called Madman out of the cultivation room. Madman's cultivation had already broken through to the lesser stage of the Supreme God realm. It seemed that he had been cultivating in seclusion seriously all these years in the northern region. And a monster like Madman must have entered the Purple Gold Divine Pagoda. The Purple Gold Divine Pagoda also had a time array. The two of them left the ancient castle and appeared in the cave abode, preparing to open the altar. Brotherly, a warm laughter sounded, and a figure streaked across the sky like lightning and landed in front of the cave abode. It was Hong Yi. Qin Feiyang was slightly stunned. Why did Hong Yi take the initiative to look for him? Hong Yi walked into the cave abode, looked at Qin Feiyang and asked, "Are you guys preparing to go out? There's something I need to deal with." Qin Feiyang nodded. Hong Yi smiled and said, "Then why didn't you call me along?" Qin Feiyang smiled faintly and said, "These are all trivial matters. There's no need to trouble you. It's no trouble at all. I'm happy to help." Hong Yi chuckled. Qin Feiyang said, "There's really no need." Now that Madman was here, there was no need to ask Hong Yi for help. This person was very greedy. If this continued, who knew how many benefits he would get from him? Although Qin Feiyang didn't care about these so-called benefits, there was no need to benefit an irrelevant person. Why has Brotherly become so distant after not seeing you for a while? Who are you talking to? Your business is my business. Hong Yi said. Qin Feiyang frowned and nodded with a smile, "All right then. That's right. You don't have to be polite with me. Even if it's just a small matter, I'm happy to help." Hong Yi smiled. Qin Feiyang smiled and said, "Then let's go." It's still the same old rules. Same old rules, Hong Yi murmured and didn't immediately send the two of them to the spatial divine item. His eyes flashed with an inexplicable light. What's wrong? Qin Feiyang looked at him suspiciously. Brotherly, there's a question I can't figure out. Why do you hide in the spatial divine item every time you enter the Dragon God Palace? Hong Yi looked at Qin Feiyang curiously. Qin Feiyang's heart skipped a beat and said with a smile, "I don't want to be seen by others, so as to avoid some trouble." Is that really the case? Why do I feel that there's something else? Hong Yi smiled. Qin Feiyang and Madman looked at each other and frowned. What are you trying to say? Nothing. Purely curious. Brotherly, I heard that last time you got a lot of divine weapons and divine arts from the Divine Weapon Pavilion and the Divine Art Treasury. Hong Yi continued to ask and didn't have the slightest intention of taking the two of them out of the Dragon God Palace. This is something that everyone knows. There's no need to ask when you already know the answer. Qin Feiyang smiled. You're really lucky. Brotherly, you can't use all these divine arts and divine weapons by yourself. Why don't you share some with me? Hong Yi smiled. Greedy indeed. Qin Feiyang muttered and smiled faintly, "Sorry, you're late. I gave them all to the people around me." Hong Yi said, "You didn't give away the Qilin technique and soul-anchoring divine pearl, right?" He didn't believe that this person would be willing to give away supreme divine arts and supreme divine artifacts to the people around him. Qin Feiyang smiled and said, "I didn't give them away." Why? Hong Yi said, "Then why don't you give them to me?" Give them to you? Qin Feiyang was stunned and said in astonishment, "After all this time, you came to me just to ask for the Qilin technique and soul-anchoring divine pearl? You can't say it so harshly. Look, I've also helped you a lot. Let's talk about this madman. He only managed to enter the Dragon God Temple with my help. Shouldn't you repay me?" Hong Yi said with a smile. Qin Feiyang also smiled. Madman's smile was even more brilliant. He actually dared to have ideas about them. This courage was really quite admirable. Hong Yi was also fearless and said with a smile, "Brotherly, listen to me, harmony brings wealth, this is the right way." Qin Feiyang said, "I'm very curious, what is your confidence?" Since he had already said it out loud, there was naturally no need to be polite. "Confidence. You should know in your heart." Hong Yi said. "I don't know." Qin Feiyang shook his head. "Do I have to point it out?" "Fine. I'll fulfill your wish. During this period, I've been thinking, why do I have to hide in a spatial artifact every time I enter the Dragon God Palace? Then one day, I suddenly thought of a possibility. It's also the only possibility. You can't freely pass through the entrance. And being unable to pass through the entrance is also a kind of explanation. You're not controlled by the stone of fate. Am I right?" Hong Yi smiled. "It seems that I've underestimated you." Qin Feiyang said. "Is that really the case?" Hong Yi was shocked and said in a deep voice, "Everyone who enters the Dragon God Palace will be controlled by the Stone of Fate, why aren't you? Aren't you very smart? Think about it yourself." Qin Feiyang said. "Could it be that young man who snatched the Stone of Fate from the Dragon God Palace Master and then helped you remove the fate contract?" Hong Yi was surprised. "You can even guess this, you're indeed smart, I really shouldn't have underestimated you." Qin Feiyang smiled in surprise. "I see." Hong Yi nodded and laughed, "It's not that you underestimated me, but you overestimated yourself." "Yes, yes, yes. So you're going to use this to threaten me and make me give you the Qilin technique and soul calming pearl?" Qin Feiyang said. "Then do you think this can threaten you?" Hong Yi smiled and asked. "No." Qin Feiyang shook his head. "No." Hong Yi looked at Qin Feiyang in shock. "You've made a very stupid decision, you know. If you can be honest, then I definitely won't make a move on you. But you chose to threaten me. You even want the Paragon technique and artifact. Are you worthy?" Qin Feiyang said. "Haha," Hong Yi raised his head and laughed. He became more and more fearless and said, "I've long known that you killed Wang Darren and the other two, and I also know that you have supreme experts protecting you. Do you think I'll come to you unprepared?" Qin Feiyang was stunned and asked suspiciously, "What preparation?" "Before coming, I've already told a friend of mine that if I don't go back alive today, I'll go and find Lord Ancestral Dragon. At that time, you should know what the consequences will be, right?" Hong Yi said with a smile. "Sure." Qin Feiyang nodded. This person was quite smart to be able to plan this step in advance. "Give it to me. I promise that we'll live in peace in the future. But there's one more condition, you have to give me some divine pills on time every month." Hong Yi said. "You want the Qilin technique and soul calming pearl, and divine pills, aren't you afraid that you can't handle it?" Qin Feiyang said. Hong Yi said with a smile, "Don't worry, I have a big appetite, no matter how much I want, I can handle it." "Is that so?" Qin Feiyang looked outside the cave, his eyes flashing slightly, and said helplessly, "All right, I'll give it to you, follow me to the space divine object." "There's no need for that. Just give it to me here." Hong Yi said. Qin Feiyang raised his eyebrows and said, "I invited you so kindly, but you actually refused, you're not giving me face. Then tell me, why should I give you face?" Hong Yi looked at him mockingly. "If you don't give me face, then I definitely won't give you face either." Qin Feiyang smiled faintly, lowered his head to look at the five-clawed golden dragon on his wrist, and said, "Cripple him." The five-clawed golden dragon immediately rushed out, and like a golden arrow, it pierced through Hong Yi's qi. Ah! With a miserable howl, blood suddenly spurted out. At the same time, the five-clawed golden dragon waved its claws, and a divine barrier appeared, sealing off the cave. This way, no matter how much noise was made inside the cave, the outside world would not hear it. This is, Hong Yi felt the dragon might of the five-clawed golden dragon and even forgot to howl. He stared at the golden dragon with a pale face. There was actually a five-clawed golden dragon beside this person. Let me kindly remind you, not only is it a five-clawed golden dragon, it is also a beginner-level immortal realm expert. Madman retreated to the side, leaned against the wall, and looked at Hong Yi playfully. What? Beginner-level immortal realm. Hong Yi's body and mind trembled. The five-clawed golden dragon said contemptuously, "This emperor has never seen someone as stupid as you, actually daring to come and threaten us." Hong Yi was terrified, and roared, "Li Bu Hare, think carefully, if you dare to kill me, my friend will definitely find Lord Ancestral Dragon. Even now, you're still threatening me, calling you an idiot is already praising you. If I'm not wrong, your friend is now in your space divine object." Qin Feiyang laughed. "You," Hong Yi looked at Qin Feiyang in shock. "Do you want to say, how would I know?" "Actually, this is very simple, because even if your friend went to find the ancestral dragon, that's just a one-sided story. Would the ancestral dragon believe it? Of course not. So, you must get evidence before you can really threaten me in the future. If you want to get evidence, you must get close to me." "How can you get close to me?" "Of course, by hiding in your space divine object. You are outside, deliberately provoking me and making me say the reason. This way, the friend hiding in your space divine object can use the image crystal to record it without anyone knowing. Am I right?" Qin Feiyang laughed. Chapter 2497. When Hong Yi heard these words, he slowly collapsed to the ground. "Who the hell is this person?" He said all this as if he had seen it with his own eyes. "These little tricks of yours are all leftover from us. Call that friend of yours out." Qin Feiyang said lightly. "You'd better not mess around. Otherwise, I'll have that friend of mine spread the recording of our conversation." Hong Yi roared. "You want to fight to the death?" Qin Feiyang smiled coldly and looked at the five-clawed golden dragon. The five-clawed golden dragon understood and forcibly pulled Hong Yi's space divine item out of his body. Then, the five-clawed golden dragon waved its claws and the space divine item shattered. After the space divine item shattered, a middle-aged man in black rolled out in a sorry state. In his hand, he was holding an image crystal. The five-clawed golden dragon stepped forward and smashed the image crystal with its claws. "Now, what can you use to threaten me?" Qin Feiyang looked at Hong Yi with a smile. Hong Yi's eyes were filled with despair. The middle-aged man in black also looked miserable. His cultivation was about the same as Hong Yi's. Facing the five-clawed golden dragon, he was like an ant facing an elephant. If you had spread the recorded video at the beginning, it would have been spread in the Dragon God Palace by now. Unfortunately, you were too greedy and wanted to use this video to threaten us. Of course. You definitely didn't expect that I would be able to guess that he was hiding in your space divine item. Qin Feiyang looked at Hong Yi and smiled. The middle-aged man in black immediately said, "Li Buer, this has nothing to do with me. He instigated me. Let me go." "What nonsense are you talking about? You were the one who suspected him first, and you even came up with the idea to let me test him." Hong Yi immediately glared at the middle-aged man in black. "You're slandering me. Li Buer, you have to believe me. I was really instigated by him. Don't worry, I won't mention this to anyone. Please be magnanimous and let me go." The middle-aged man in black was lying on the ground, crying and begging. "Cripple him as well." Qin Feiyang looked at the five-clawed golden dragon and said. The five-clawed golden dragon waved its dragon claw, and a streak of divine power instantly entered the black-clothed middle-aged man's chi. "Ah!" The middle-aged man let out a blood-curdling scream. His face was filled with fear. Qin Feiyang waved his hand and sent the two of them to the castle. He then transmitted his voice to Fire Lotus, "Don't let them die too quickly." "Understood." Fire Lotus responded. Qin Feiyang smiled and opened an altar. He turned to Madman and said, "Senior brother, let's go." The five-clawed golden dragon coiled around Qin Feiyang's wrist. The madman waved his hand and sent Qin Feiyang into the spatial divine item before stepping onto the altar. Whether it was the madman or Qin Feiyang, this was just a small interlude. In a huge stone room, Qin Feiyang stood in the center and looked around. The stone room was very large, at least a few hundred feet. Not only were there all kinds of furniture, there were also some small green potted plants. After knowing each other for so long, this was the first time Qin Feiyang came to the madman's spatial divine item. The ground was also extremely clean. Suddenly, Qin Feiyang looked at the four walls. He discovered that there were actually many tightly shut stone doors. Could it be that there was more than one space? Qin Feiyang curiously walked in front of a stone door and pushed it hard, but found that he couldn't open it. He walked to the other stone doors and tried, but he couldn't open them either. Not simple. He already knew that the madman's spatial divine item was definitely not ordinary. Now that he saw it, it was indeed so. But what was behind these doors? Shwa! Suddenly, Qin Feiyang's vision blurred and in the next moment, he appeared on top of a mountain. Qin Feiyang curiously looked at the madman beside him and asked, "Senior brother, what level is your spatial divine item?" "You want to know?" the madman said. "Yes." Qin Feiyang nodded his head. "I won't tell you." The madman laughed in ridicule. Qin Feiyang helplessly sent the madman to the castle, then opened an altar and jumped up. Black Tortoise Mountain. At this moment, in a valley, a group of people gathered together, their eyes filled with anticipation. The valley was huge. There were also many people, estimated to be more than 1,000. But when more than 1,000 people gathered together, there was no noise at all. It was extremely quiet. At the front, Li Changhe, Wang Daoyuan, and Jiang Dafei stood together, all of them silent. Shwa! Suddenly, a figure descended in the sky above the valley. At this moment, everyone raised their heads in unison and looked at that figure. "Greetings, young lord." "Greetings, young master." Jiang Dafei and the other two immediately bowed. "He is the young lord." The others looked at Qin Feiyang suspiciously. Qin Feiyang glanced at the crowd and took a facial restoration pill, restoring his true appearance. "It's the young lord. It's exactly the same as what the divine general said." "Greetings, young lord." After seeing Qin Feiyang restore his true appearance, the group of people knelt down and kowtowed. "Get up." Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. "Yes." Everyone got up and looked at Qin Feiyang curiously. They were no stranger to the name Qin Feiyang, but it was the first time they saw him in person. This was a bit different from the young lord they imagined. The young lord in their imagination was the kind of person who was unapproachable, cold and ruthless. But now, the young lord standing in front of them looked very gentle, without any arrogance or coercion. "Young master, this is for you." Li Changhe and the other two flew in front of Qin Feiyang. Wang Daoyuan took out the twin dragon pendant and handed it to Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang put away the twin dragon pendant. When he gave the twin dragon pendant to Li Changhe and Wang Daoyuan, it was to prove that they were his subordinates. Now that they were here, he naturally didn't need the twin dragon pendant anymore. Qin Feiyang asked, "How many people are there in total?" "Except for Fan Yunzhang, everyone is here." "A total of 1,198 people." Li Changhe. With 1,198 people, including Fan Yunzhang and Jiang Dafei, there were exactly 1,200 people in total. As expected. There were spies of the Dragon Slayer Palace in the 1,200 cities in the north. But Qin Feiyang knew that this was not all. There must be people of the Dragon Slayer Palace hiding in the major cities. It was just that these people usually hid in the city or in the wilderness, and no one knew about them. How's your cultivation? Qin Feiyang asked. Jiang Dafei said, between the half-step supreme and the perfected ninth heaven state. Qin Feiyang nodded, looked at the 1,198 people below, and said with a smile, "It's been hard on you to hide in the major cities all these years." "It's not hard at all. As long as we can destroy the dragons, it's worth sacrificing our lives." The people below immediately roared. "I don't agree with that. The dragons must be destroyed, but you have to live. I, Qin Feiyang, will never do a deal that kills 1,000 enemies and loses 800 of my own men. You have to protect yourselves even more if you follow me. I don't want anyone to sacrifice themselves for the Dragon Slayer Palace, for me, Qin Feiyang." Qin Feiyang said with a smile. "Yes." Everyone bowed in response, and their hearts were filled with warmth. No one had ever cared about them so much. How lucky. They had met such a benevolent and righteous young lord. "Okay, let's get down to business. I believe Li Changhe and the others have also told you my rules." Qin Feiyang said. "We're willing." Everyone bowed. Qin Feiyang smiled and began to make seals with both hands. Slave seals quickly appeared and swept toward the heads of more than 1,000 people. After about a few hundred breaths, the slave seals were finally completed. Qin Feiyang asked with a smile, "I control you. Do you have any complaints?" "No." The group of people didn't hesitate at all and answered very straightforwardly. "Since you're willing to follow me, I definitely won't treat you badly. I won't ask for your names. After all, there are too many people. I might not be able to remember all of them. But I promise you here that when I succeed and retire, I will return your freedom. Also, no matter who it is, as long as you reach the perfected paragon or the 9 heaven stage, I will help you open the door of potential." Qin Feiyang said with a smile. The door of potential. Everyone was wild with joy when they heard this. This was something they had never expected at all. It was simply a great fortune. Qin Feiyang turned to Jiang Dafei and the other two and said, "Count how many perfected paragon and perfected paragon gods there are now." Then, Qin Feiyang entered the Black Tortoise realm and looked at Fire Lotus. "Immediately prepare the Yin-Yang Chaos Divine pills for me, as well as all kinds of medicinal herbs to open the door of potential. The more the better." "Okay." Fire Lotus nodded. Outside the valley. "Come. Perfected Paragon and Perfected Paragon gods, step forward." Jiang Dafei looked at the crowd below and said. Immediately. Figures walked out one after another. There were men and women, old and young. Jiang Dafei said again, "Perfected Paragon gods, stand on the right. Perfected Paragon gods, stand on the left." The group of people walked to the left and right. It was very orderly. There was no disturbance at all. Soon, the people on both sides stood in place. Jiang Dafei and the other two counted. There were 150 perfected paragon gods. There were 300 perfected paragon gods. A total of 450 people. Then, the three of them reported this matter to Qin Feiyang. Although Qin Feiyang was in the castle, he could clearly hear the voices outside. Outside. Time passed breath by breath. About 10 breaths later, Qin Feiyang appeared in the sky above the valley again. He looked extremely haggard. In his hand, he was holding a Qianquan bag. "Give them the Yin-Yang Chaos pills and help them open the door of potential." Qin Feiyang threw the Qianquan bag to Jiang Dafei and the other two. The three of them took the Qianquan bag and looked down. They were shocked. How could he refine so many pills so quickly? Right. There was a time array in the castle. A day outside was 100 years inside. Although only a few breaths had passed outside, a long time had passed inside the castle. And refining these pills continuously had indeed exhausted Qin Feiyang. It's actually a divine pill. I didn't expect young lord to be able to refine divine pills. When they saw the pills that Li Changhe and the other two took out, they were all extremely shocked. Now you know how powerful young lord is. Jiang Dafei smiled and said, all of you, come up and receive your yin-yang chaos pills. The perfected paragon gods and perfected paragon gods flew up one after another and received the yin-yang chaos pill. These yin-yang chaos pills can raise your cultivation by 1 minor level. If you're lucky, it might even raise your cultivation by 2 minor levels. Qin Feiyang smiled. Raise your cultivation to the paragon god level? There's still a possibility of increasing by 2 minor realms. Thank you, young lord. The 450 people immediately bowed and thanked him. The other hundreds of people naturally looked envious. Don't worry. When you break through to the perfected paragon god level, you'll all have them. As for the people of the Empyrean realm, the young lord said earlier that he would also help you open the door of potential. Li Changhe smiled. When the hundreds of people heard this, their eyes were filled with anticipation. Chapter 2498. Looking at everyone's reaction, Qin Feiyang was also very satisfied. The first step of winning people's hearts had basically been achieved. Qin Feiyang looked down at the 5-clawed golden dragon on his wrist and said with a smile, set up a barrier. After all, Black Tortoise Mountain was outside Holy Dragon City. And there were many fierce beasts nearby, as well as some people who were training. When everyone broke through later, it would definitely cause a big commotion. So, he had to set up a barrier to isolate the commotion. Hearing this, the 5-clawed golden dragon soared into the sky and turned into 100 feet long. Divine power surged out, and a barrier suddenly appeared, covering the entire valley. Divine Dragon. It's a 5-clawed golden dragon. Everyone was dumbfounded. Even Li Changhe and the other two were shocked. When did the young master subdue a 5-clawed golden dragon? It's a companion that has just followed me not long ago. It has a basic immortal realm cultivation. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. Basic immortal realm. Everyone's eyes trembled. This young master was indeed a dragon among men. Even a basic immortal realm 5-clawed golden dragon was under his command. Let's begin. Qin Feiyang said, then sat cross-legged in the void and closed his eyes to rest. The 450 people also took the yin and yang chaos pills one after another. Boom! After a while, waves of aura burst out uncontrollably. A group of people broke through one after another. There was no doubt that the 300 perfected immortals had all broken through the shackles of the 9 heavens realm. As long as they opened the door of potential, they could break through to the half-step 9 heavens realm. However, only 30 or so of the 150 perfected immortals were lucky enough to soar all the way to the perfected immortals and break through the shackles of the 9 heavens realm. As for the remaining 100 or so people, although they were a bit unlucky and didn't break through the shackles of the 9 heavens realm, they were all perfected immortals. Next. Of course, it was to help these people open the door of potential. The 5-clawed golden dragon released its pressure. The doors of potential of the 450 people were opened one after another. Those who could enter the Dragon Slayer Palace had extraordinary willpower. Halfway through, they only rested for a short while. About half an hour. The 450 people had broken through the ultimate immortal realm. Looking at the potential mark on their chests, they were all incoherent with excitement. Following closely, everyone looked at Qin Feiyang, who was recuperating with his eyes closed. Their eyes were filled with gratitude. All of this was given to him by the young lord. In the future, the young supremacy would be their sky. Whatever the young supremacy told them to do, they would do. The remaining few hundred people clenched their fists tightly. In order to unlock the door of potential, they had to work hard in their cultivation from now on. Sir, it's done. Li Changhe walked up to Qin Feiyang and respectfully handed the Qianquan bag to Qin Feiyang. There were still many pills left inside. Qin Feiyang opened his eyes, and the fatigue between his brows disappeared. He glanced at the Qianquan bag and smiled faintly. Give it to Jiang Dafei. In the future, if you need it, go to him. Thank you, young lord. Those who hadn't unlocked their potential bowed and thanked him. It turned out that the young master had already refined the elixirs they needed. Hearing this, Li Changhe handed the Qianquan bag to Jiang Dafei and reminded him, Brother Jiang, the pills inside are priceless. Take good care of them. Don't worry. I'll protect these pills with my life. Jiang Dafei said solemnly. That's too exaggerated. But there's no certainty. If these pills are exposed to the world, it won't be good for you. Qin Feiyang smiled. Jiang Dafei was slightly stunned, then shook his head and smiled bitterly. That seemed to be the case. Apart from the yin-yang chaos pill, the rest of the pills were all for unlocking the door of potential. Once exposed, one could imagine what kind of disaster it would bring. Thinking of this Qianquan bag was still a hot potato. Qin Feiyang looked at the three of them and said, Now, tell me, how many city lords have been replaced? The three of them were stunned and looked at Qin Feiyang, looking a little nervous. Qin Feiyang frowned. Don't tell me that you haven't taken action after so long. Please forgive me, sir. We really haven't taken action yet. Because we've been contacting everyone during this period. Although you gave us the list, the north is too big after all. Moreover, we have to find and confirm one by one. It really took a lot of effort. The three of them lowered their heads. Qin Feiyang frowned. Jiang Dafei said, Young lord, don't worry, we'll start the plan later and complete the task as soon as possible. Then what plan do you have? Qin Feiyang asked. The three of them stiffened and shook their heads. Not yet. Qin Feiyang said, Not yet, or can't you think of the most appropriate plan? Nothing can escape young master's eyes. Indeed, we can't think of the most appropriate plan. Wang Daoyuan smiled bitterly. Qin Feiyang pondered for a moment and said, Then tell me about the plans you originally thought of. The first step of replacing the city lords is to kill the current city lords. The second step is to find a way for those present to take the position of city lord. But compared to the second step, the first step is more difficult. Because there are too many people, if the city lords die one after another, then no matter how careless the dragons are, they will see through it. And if we take it slow and spend hundreds or thousands of years, it will be too much of a waste of time. The three of them said. That makes sense. Qin Feiyang nodded and said, Then we can create all kinds of accidents. If the city lords die one after another, it shouldn't attract too much attention. That won't work. Once or twice can be an accident, but if it happens too many times, it won't be an accident anymore. The problem we are most worried about is that once the dragons notice, it will affect our overall plan. Or even fail. Li Changhe. Qin Feiyang nodded and said, This matter really can't be noticed by the dragons. Li Changhe sighed. That's why we haven't been able to find the most suitable way. Wang Daoyuan and Jiang Dafei also looked like they couldn't make up their minds. Looking at the three of them, Qin Feiyang lowered his head and pondered. Jiang Dafei and the other two looked at each other, then looked at Qin Feiyang. Sir is resourceful, he should be able to think of the safest and most efficient way. A moment later. Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed, and with a wave of his hand, Hua Yi, Fire Lotus, and Feng Daji appeared. The three of them looked at Qin Feiyang with a puzzled expression. Qin Feiyang looked at Feng Daji and said, "How long will it take for your divine body to recover?" Feng Daji said, "It will take a while." "That doesn't matter. Go to the various city lords' mansions. With the strength of your divine soul, no one can stop you." Qin Feiyang laughed. Fire Lotus looked at Qin Feiyang in confusion and asked, "Qin Dage, do you have a plan?" N. Five-clawed golden dragon, you and Li Changhe go together. Hua Yi, you and Wang Daoyuan go together. Fire Lotus, you and Jiang Dafei go together. Feng Daji, you come with me. We will split into 4 groups and loot the medicinal fields of the various city lords' mansions as fast as possible. Of course, we will also kill the city lords of the various city lords' mansions. Qin Feiyang said. So blatant. Everyone looked at each other. That's exactly what we need to do. That way, the dragon clan will think that our target is the herb field and not those city lords. Qin Feiyang laughed. So that's how it is. On the surface, we are looting the medicinal fields, but in the dark, we are killing the current city lords. At that time, even if the city lords are all dead, the dragons will only think that they were killed by us when they were guarding the medicinal fields. Although it will cause a big sensation, it can cover our true purpose. Sir is indeed sir, to be able to think of such a wonderful plan. This subordinate admires you. Li Changhe cupped his hands and smiled. Wang Daoyuan, Jiang Dafei, and more than 1,000 people below also had a look of admiration. Qin Feiyang looked at Li Changhe and the other two and asked, "The three of you have the coordinates of the various cities, right?" "Yes. You are only responsible for leading the way. Leave the rest to Fire Lotus, Hua Yi, and the 5-clawed golden dragon." Qin Feiyang said. Li Changhe and the other two nodded. Qin Feiyang looked at the crowd below and smiled, "I also need someone to lead the way. Who knows the coordinates of all the cities?" "Me. Me too. Young lord, I also know." Dozens of people below raised their hands and shouted. Qin Feiyang glanced at the dozens of people, and finally looked at a black-clothed man and said, "You." This man was at the peak of the 9 heavens realm and could be of help. The man flew in front of Qin Feiyang and bowed, "Subordinate Lei Bing greets young lord." "Which city are you from?" Qin Feiyang asked. Lei Bing said, "Serpent City." "Serpent City." Qin Feiyang was slightly taken aback and muttered, "It sounds familiar." "Young lord, Serpent City is as famous as Holy Dragon City. It is one of the 3 largest cities in the north." Jiang Dafei said. "I see." Qin Feiyang nodded in realization. When the princess and the patriarch of the dragons pretended to be Lin Yi and her disciple and looted the treasure vaults of various cities, they also looted Serpent City. So, he had also heard of this city. "Well, take Feng Daji and me to Serpent City." Qin Feiyang smiled. "Yes." Lei Bing nodded respectfully. Qin Feiyang turned to look at Fire Lotus, Hua Yi, and the 5-clawed golden dragon, and said with a smile, "Then let's get started. After we are done, we will meet here. Remember to kill those messengers." In this way, the people of the city lord's mansion will not be able to contact the dragons immediately, and we will have plenty of time. Hua Yi laughed, "I haven't encountered such a fun thing in a long time. Wang Daoyuan, let's go. Then let's go to Snow Dragon City." Wang Daoyuan smiled, changed his appearance slightly, and opened an altar. Snow Dragon City, Serpent City, and Holy Dragon City were the 3 largest cities in the north. As soon as the two left, Li Changhe looked at the 5-clawed golden dragon and said with a hoarse smile, "Then let's go to Sun Moon City." "Whatever. Anyway, they are just ants." The 5-clawed golden dragon said proudly. Qin Feiyang looked at the 5-clawed golden dragon and said, "You also have to change your appearance." Chapter 2499. Why? The five-clawed golden dragon asked. You'll follow me to the Dragon God Palace in the future, so you can't reveal your true identity. Qin Feiyang said. All right. The five-clawed golden dragon nodded and transformed into a human. Then, his divine power condensed into a mask and he put it on his face. Li Changhe also changed his appearance. He activated an altar and left with the five-clawed golden dragon. As soon as the five-clawed golden dragon left, the barrier around the valley disappeared. Jiang Dafei also took a phantom elixir and changed his appearance slightly. He looked at Fire Lotus and said with a smile, Miss Fire Lotus, let's go to Star Cloud City. Okay. Fire Lotus nodded. After Fire Lotus and Jiang Dafei left, Lei Bing also took out a phantom elixir and changed his appearance. After all, he had to stay undercover in Serpent City in the future, so he couldn't reveal his true identity. It was because of this that Jiang Dafei had changed his appearance. As for Li Changhe and Wang Daoyuan, they had appeared in the Dragon God Palace, so they couldn't show their true faces. Otherwise, everyone would know that Li Bu, heir in the Dragon God Palace, was Qin Feiyang. After that, Lei Bing also opened an altar. Qin Feiyang jumped onto the altar with Feng Daji. He looked at the more than 1,000 people below and said with a smile, build a contract bridge with each other so that you can contact each other in the future. Then, go back to your respective cities immediately. But don't go back to the city lord's mansion, in case you get hurt. Yes. A group of people bowed and answered. Lei Bing also jumped onto the altar. This young master is really bold. Yes. Only the young master would dare to think of such a bold plan, and only the young master would dare to do it. After Qin Feiyang and the other two left, the more than 1,000 people sighed. Last time. In order to deal with Qin Feiyang, the dragons looted the treasure vaults of all the cities in the north. This time around, Qin Feiyang could be said to be giving him a taste of his own medicine. One could imagine. When the dragons received the news, their faces would be ugly. Serpent City. There was a sea of people and endless streams of horses and carriages. It seemed incomparably prosperous and lively. The city lord's mansion, which was located in the center of the city, was naturally heavily guarded. At this moment, behind the city lord's mansion, above a medicinal field, 3 figures appeared out of nowhere. They were none other than Qin Feiyang, Feng Daji, and Lei Bing. Qin Feiyang shook his head and looked at Feng Daji. Feng Daji waved his hand, and a divine sense shot out, blasting downward. With a loud bang, an enchantment appeared above the medicine field, and the enchantment shattered. Without another word, Qin Feiyang immediately released his divine power and poured it into the ground below the herb field. Rumble. The entire herb field was uprooted, including the crystal vein and the spirit vein below. Who is it? This commotion immediately alerted the people in the city lord's estate. A black-clothed old man took the lead and rushed into the back mountain. But when he saw that it was Qin Feiyang and Feng Daji, his face suddenly changed. This was because the two of them had not changed their appearances yet. And Qin Feiyang wanted to cause a sensation. Needless to say, Feng Daji used to be a servant of the dragons, so the dragons naturally knew him. How dare you rob the herb field of the Serpent City again? And this Feng Daji, didn't he explode himself? Why is he still alive? The black-clothed old man was both shocked and angry, but he didn't dare to go forward. Not only did they not dare to step forward, they fled for their lives in fear. Feng Daji turned around and looked at the black-clothed old man, who had just reached the 9th heaven state. A divine sense shot out, and the black-clothed old man died on the spot. The next moment, he returned to his true form, which was a black dragon, and fell to the ground with a thump. Soon, another group of people rushed into the back mountain. The leader was a middle-aged man in a purple robe, who looked quite majestic. He is the city lord of the Serpent City. The people behind him are basically the dragon's minions. They all deserve to die. Lei Bing said to Feng Daji. Die. Feng Daji said coldly, and a divine sense rushed towards the group of people like a tide. It's Qin Feiyang. Run! The city lord roared. But before he could finish, the divine sense had already arrived. Along with a series of screams, the group of people died, and blood splashed in the sky. At the same time, Qin Feiyang put the herb field into the Black Tortoise realm, looked at the blood mist in the sky, and said with a smile, "Let's go to the next city." Yes. Lei Bing opened another altar, and then the three of them left without looking back. Did you hear the commotion at the city lord's mansion? Something seems to have happened. I can faintly hear some screams. What is going on? At this moment, everyone in the Serpent City was looking at the city lord's mansion, their eyes full of shock. The guards of the city lord's mansion heard the commotion and rushed to the back mountain in shock. When he saw the looted medicinal field, when he saw the black dragon's corpse, when he saw the ground full of dismembered corpses and severed limbs, he immediately turned pale. What's going on? Who robbed the herb field? Who killed the messenger of the dragons and the city lord? The news quickly spread in the Serpent City, causing a huge uproar. At the same time, Snow Dragon City, Sun Moon City, and Star Cloud City were also boiling. Because the city lord's mansions of these three cities were also robbed. The messenger of the dragons and the city lord were also killed. I saw it, it's Hua Yi. That's right, it's Qin Feiyang's accomplice. It's him who robbed the herb field of Snow Dragon City and killed the city lord and the messenger of the dragons. Oh my god. Why would he suddenly do such a thing? He's crazy. I saw it too, it's a masked woman who robbed the herb field of Star Cloud City. She's too powerful. The city lord, the messenger of the dragons, and the guards are as weak as ants in front of her. An unprecedented storm unfolded in the north. All the cities were talking about it. Whoosh! Above a certain city, accompanied by a terrifying aura, a golden-robed man wearing a mask descended in the sky above the city lord's mansion. Die, all of you. After robbing the herb field, the man in the golden robe shouted coldly, and divine power surged out and blasted into the city lord's mansion. Boom! The entire city lord's mansion was turned into ashes in an instant. How cruel! Li Changhe shook his head. That's right. The man in the golden robe was the five-clawed golden dragon. Let's go. The five-clawed golden dragon said coldly. Li Changhe nodded and opened an altar. After the two left, the city was in an uproar. Who are they? I heard that they've robbed more than one city lord's mansion. The news finally reached the Dragon God Palace. What did you say? The white-clothed woman looked at a disciple who came to report with a face full of shock and anger. Lord Ancestral Dragon. It's true. The disciple said. Who is it? The white-clothed woman said in a deep voice. Hua Yi, a masked woman, and a masked man. And someone saw Qin Feiyang and Feng Daji with their own eyes. The disciple said. Feng Daji. Isn't he dead? The white-clothed woman was shocked. Back then, Feng Daji self-destructed in front of her. How could he still be alive? Could it be that he left behind a wisp of his divine soul before he self-destructed? This damn thing. The disciple said, and their cultivation seems to be very strong. How strong? The white-clothed woman asked. I'm not sure, but I heard that Hua Yi, the masked woman, and the masked man are all in the imperishable realm. The disciple said. Qin Feiyang. You're simply lawless. The white-clothed woman was unable to restrain her anger. She waved her hand and said, I know, you can leave now. Yes. The disciple respectfully responded, turned around, and quickly left. The white-clothed woman took out an image crystal. Buzz! A blurry figure appeared. It was Longzuan. The white-clothed woman shouted, "Lord Longzuan, something bad has happened." "What's wrong?" Longzuan frowned. Qin Feiyang, Hua Yi, Feng Daji, and two masked men and women who jumped out of nowhere, are wantonly looting the medicine fields of the various city lord mansions in the north. Our emissaries of the dragons were all killed by them. The white-clothed woman said. Naturally, she ignored the deaths of the various city lords. Because compared to the looting of the medicine fields and the death of the dragon's emissaries, the deaths of the various city lords were not worth mentioning. What? This damn little beast, is there no end to it? Longzuan said angrily. The white-clothed woman said, "Lord, how should we solve this matter?" "Immediately send a message to the ancestral dragons of the various sea regions, tell them to immediately rush to the north and kill them at all costs." Longzuan shouted. "Yes." The white-clothed woman nodded. At this time, Qin Feiyang, Fire Lotus, Hua Yi, and Five-Clawed Golden Dragon had already looted 1/3 of the cities in the north. After all, their strength was in front of them, and they also had the coordinates of the various city lord mansions. Looting a medicine field was just a matter of a few blinks of an eye. In contrast, rushing was the most time-consuming. Because the distance between the major cities in the north was basically very far. The nearest city would need to activate several teleportation altars to reach. In the sky above a city lord mansion, Lei Bing and Feng Daji were helping to transfer the medicine fields. Qin Feiyang took out the image crystal. Buzz! A shadow appeared. It was Hua Yi. "What's the matter?" Hua Yi looked at him suspiciously. "I guess these things have already reached Longzuan's ears. She will definitely think of a way to kill us. So, we must be careful." Qin Feiyang warned. "Don't worry. With the broken sword, it's not a problem to escape." Hua Yi smiled confidently. "Don't let down your guard." Qin Feiyang said. "Got it." Hua Yi nodded his head and turned off the image crystal. At this time, the medicine fields below were also uprooted from the ground. Qin Feiyang waved his hand and sent the medicine fields to the Black Tortoise realm. Then, he looked around. What's going on? Why haven't the dragon's messenger and the city lord come yet? Qin Feiyang was suspicious. I guess they have already received the news, so they don't dare to come and check. Feng Daji said. Then, won't we have no way to kill those city lords? Lei Bing frowned. Qin Feiyang said, then, let's kill them. Kill. Feng Daji was stunned. Qin Feiyang said, destroy the entire city lord mansion. Huh? Feng Daji was surprised. Why are you so surprised? Anyway, our people have already told them in advance not to return to the city lord mansion after returning to their respective cities. And now, the people in the city lord mansion are almost all the dragon's minions. Their deaths are not worth regretting. Qin Feiyang said lightly. That's true. Feng Daji nodded and flew into the sky with Qin Feiyang. A divine sense blasted into the city lord mansion. With a loud bang, the entire city lord mansion was instantly annihilated. Following that, the three didn't stop and rushed to the next city. Chapter 2500. Next. Qin Feiyang then sent a message to Fire Lotus, Jiang Dafei, Li Changhe and the five-clawed golden dragon, telling them to be careful. And Hua Yi, Fire Lotus, and the five-clawed golden dragon also began to encounter the same situation. The dragon's emissary and the city lord did not come. It was as if they were telling them that they could loot as much as they wanted, but they would not come to throw their lives away. The final choice that the three of them made was the same as Qin Feiyang, to destroy the entire city lord's mansion. What was even funnier was that This news slowly spread. What? Destroy the entire city lord's mansion? These people are crazy. No, I can't stay in the city lord's mansion any longer. If they come, I'll definitely die. Quick, inform everyone to evacuate the city lord's mansion immediately. Upon receiving this news, the dragon's emissaries and city lords of the various city lords' mansions immediately gave the order. In some cities, not only did the city lords' mansions people evacuate, even the people inside the city had all evacuated out of the city, turning it into an empty city. When Qin Feiyang and the others encountered such a situation, they were quite helpless. Above a city lord's mansion, Jiang Dafei looked at the empty city lord's mansion, and the corner of his mouth could not help but twitch as he sighed. The development of the situation is somewhat unexpected. Indeed, I did not expect it. Fire Lotus shook her head and smiled. Jiang Dafei asked, then what do we do now? Fire Lotus pondered for a moment, and said, there's no need to continue, let's retreat. All right. Jiang Dafei nodded, opened an altar, and the two of them quickly left. At the same time, Hui Yi and Wang Daoyuan also arrived above an empty city lord's mansion. And not only the city lord's mansion, but the city was also empty. This is already the second empty city we've encountered. Wang Daoyuan glanced at the city lord's mansion, then looked at the empty city, and said helplessly. Then let's go. Hui Yi decisively opened an altar. Die. However, at this moment, accompanied by a loud shout, a sword light tore through the sky in the distance and charged towards Hui Yi and Wang Daoyuan. Hui Yi looked down and did not hesitate to mobilize his divine power to protect the altar. At the same time, he took out his broken sword and slashed out. Rumble. The two sword lights met. In an instant, the entire city, including the city lord's mansion, was reduced to ashes. Just as young master expected, the dragons would send people to kill us. Wang Daoyuan muttered. Humph. Hui Yi grunted coldly as he grabbed Wang Daoyuan, and then he flashed up the altar like a bolt of lightning before his figure started to dissipate. Where do you think you're going? A 14 or 15-year-old youth in blood-red clothes streaked across the sky like a bolt of lightning. He was holding a blood-red dagger in his hand. Hui Yi looked at the blood-robed youth and chuckled, Blood Dragon, Ancestral Dragon, aren't you guarding the North Sea? What are you doing here? How dare you? Although the blood-red clothed youth looked young, there was a shocking murderous aura between his eyebrows. I already guessed that you would come, so I won't give you a chance. We'll meet again if fate wills it. Hui Yi waved his hand, and the two figures completely disappeared. Damn it, damn it! The blood-robed youth roared. In the sky above another city, the five-clawed golden dragon and Li Changhe also encountered an empty city. Li Changhe shook his head and took out an altar. Buzz! But at this time, the image crystal rang. Li Changhe took out the image crystal, and Qin Feiyang's shadow appeared. I received a message from Hui Yi that the Blood Dragon Ancestral Dragon has already arrived in the north. I believe that the other ancestral dragons have also arrived. Evacuate immediately. Qin Feiyang said. Ancestral Dragon. The five-clawed golden dragon and Li Changhe's expressions changed as they immediately revived the altar and returned to Black Tortoise Mountain. At the same time, Fire Lotus also received Hui Yi's message. Black Tortoise Mountain. Several people appeared in the sky above the valley one after another. Qin Feiyang glanced at everyone and laughed, everyone is back, not bad. It's a pity that we didn't kill them all. Lei Bing shook his head regretfully. Li Changhe sighed, there's nothing we can do about it. Wang Daoyuan looked at Qin Feiyang and said, young master, we should have acted quietly at that time. Do you think that by acting quietly, you can kill all the city lords without anyone noticing? It will never be possible. There are so many people in the city lord's mansion. No matter how secretive we are, we will be exposed sooner or later. Hua Yi said. Qin Feiyang laughed, since we've already come this far, there's nothing to regret. Tell me about your results. He was already very happy that everyone had returned. Jiang Dafei said, Miss Fire Lotus and I have killed a total of 160 city lords. Wang Daoyuan followed, Lord Hua Yi and I have killed a total of 175 city lords. Lord Golden Dragon and I have killed a little more. We killed a total of 190 city lords. Li Changhe laughed. There was no other way, the five-clawed golden dragon was too violent. More than us. Lei Bing was stunned. Then how many did you kill? Everyone looked at Qin Feiyang and the other two curiously. Lei Bing smiled bitterly, young master, Lord Feng Daji and I killed 150 city lords. It's indeed a bit bad. Hua Yi grinned. Qin Feiyang rolled his eyes. 150, 160, 175, 190, this added up to 675. Not to mention, this was a good result. There were 1,200 cities in the north. In other words, they had killed more than half of them. And this was not the main point. The main point was these city lords' mansions, herb fields. Let's go. To the Black Tortoise world. Qin Feiyang waved his hand and led the group into the Black Tortoise world. Above the Devil's Land, there were intact herb fields floating. These were the herb fields that Qin Feiyang looted. Crystal veins, soul veins, not a single one was spared. Qin Feiyang looked at Hua Yi and the others, asking, what about the herb fields you looted? Hua Yi, Fire Lotus, and the five-clawed golden dragon looked at each other. With a wave of their hands, herb fields flew out from their chi seas one after another. For people who had reached their cultivation level, their chi seas could accommodate all things. So many. Li Changhe, Wang Daoyuan, Jiang Dafei, and Lei Bing stared at the herb fields, crystal veins, and soul veins in a daze. Qin Feiyang smiled, it seems like there's no need to loot the Dragon God Temple's herb fields, soul veins, and crystal veins. It's enough to cause earth-shaking changes to the Black Tortoise world. Fire Lotus nodded with a smile on her face. This was half of the northern region's crystal veins and soul veins, probably comparable to the north, west desert, south wasteland, and east tomb combined. And the Black Tortoise world space was smaller than the north wasteland. One could imagine. With so many crystal veins and soul veins entering the Black Tortoise world, how big of a change would it cause? Other things aside, the current Black Tortoise world had definitely surpassed the Dragon God Temple. Qin Feiyang looked at Fire Lotus, smiling, sorry to trouble you again. No problem. Fire Lotus smiled faintly, saying, Black Panther brothers, come out and help. Coming. The three Black Panther brothers ran out of the ancient castle. When they saw the herb fields, crystal veins, and soul veins, they were all dumbfounded. Qin Feiyang turned to Lei Bing and Jiang Dafei, saying, you two go back first, if there's anything, contact me. Okay. The two nodded. Qin Feiyang took out the image crystal. After establishing the contract bridge, he sent the two out. Li Changhe asked, young master, what about the remaining cities? I was just about to think about this. You two go and help Fire Lotus, I'll think about it alone. Qin Feiyang finished speaking and walked to the courtyard at the side. Feng Daji entered the ancient castle, continuing to reconstruct his body. The five-clawed golden dragon followed Qin Feiyang. As for Hua Yi, he wandered around the herb fields alone. Help me brew a pot of tea. Qin Feiyang sat in the pavilion, looking at the five-clawed golden dragon and said, then lowered his head and pondered. Dragon God Mountain Range, above the plains. The white-clothed woman and the blood-red-clothed youth stood together, both silent and gloomy. Soon. Accompanied by a few whistling sounds, another 4 people flew over. The white-clothed woman looked at the four and asked, "How is it?" One of them said, "We didn't find a single person, but we counted that a total of more than 600 city lord mansions were looted." "Damn it!" The blood-red-clothed youth was furious. "You just sent a message saying that you met Hui, why did you let him escape?" An old man looked at the blood-red-clothed youth and frowned. The blood-red-clothed youth said, "They already guessed that we would appear, so they were already prepared. Why are these people so difficult to deal with?" The others rubbed their foreheads. The blood-red-clothed youth said again, "Also, this Hui actually knows that I'm guarding the North Sea." "What? How did he know?" The others were surprised. "It's clear that they've already expected this," Li Tianlan said. "I'm afraid not only me, but also the few of you guarding the Inland Sea, West Sea, South Sea, and East Sea, they also know." The blood-red-clothed youth said in a deep voice. "I finally understand why Long Zun always said that Qin Feiyang is a bigger threat than the dragon-slaying palace. His mind is really frightening. To be honest, I really don't know what to do with this kid now." The white-clothed woman sighed. "In fact, old He and the other three should have unsealed the heaven-defying divine artifacts the last time we were here." "Yes. If we had unsealed the divine artifacts at that time, although the North Sea and the divine Dragon Island would have been affected, at least we could have gotten rid of him and waited forever. But now, old He and the other three have been killed, and they haven't condensed a complete divine soul yet. The most important thing is that the Sunset Divine Bow, the four heaven-defying divine artifacts, have also fallen into Qin Feiyang's hands. I'm afraid that the four heaven-defying divine artifacts have already surrendered to him. Otherwise, with their strength, they would have already killed their way out." The other four people also sighed. "What's the point of saying this now? Hurry up and think. What should we do next?" The blood-red-clothed youth said angrily, feeling a little restless. The white-clothed woman sighed deeply and said, "Let's ask Lord Long Zun for advice." The other four people also nodded. Their minds were in a mess now, and it was hard for them to think of an effective solution. The white-clothed woman took out an image crystal. Buzz! Long Zun's shadow appeared. "How is it?" Long Zun asked. "We are useless. Please forgive us, Lord Long Zun." The 6 people immediately knelt in the void. Long Zun's body suddenly emitted a bone-piercing chill when he heard that. He said in a deep voice, "How many cities have been affected?" "More than 600. The white-clothed woman said truthfully. Long Zun said angrily, "More than 600 cities, that's half of the North Sea." The 6 people trembled in fear, as if they were facing an abyss. Chapter 25:01. Half of the north has been plundered. "What are you guys doing?" Long Zun said angrily. "My lord, please forgive us." The 6 of them knelt in the air, looking terrified. They also wanted to kill Qin Feiyang and eliminate all future troubles. However, facing this person, they felt powerless from the bottom of their hearts. It was the same as when they faced Qin Batian. Thinking back, Qin Batian was the same as well. Although his cultivation was weak, he was like a loach that couldn't be caught. Why were the people of the Qin clan so difficult to deal with? It's not that they are difficult to deal with, it's because of the Celestial God Stone. Without the Celestial God Stone, they would have died many times over. Long Zun snorted as if he knew what the 6 of them were thinking. "You're right." The 6 of them nodded. "They should still be moving. Go hide in the cities that haven't been plundered and wait for them to come to us." Long Zun shouted. "Yes." The blood-red-clothed young man and the other 4 answered respectfully. However, the white-clothed woman was still suspicious of him. Long Zun looked at the woman in white and asked, "Do you have any objections?" "My lord, they have already plundered half of the north. The spirit veins, crystal veins, and herbs are enough for them to use for a lifetime. So I'm worried that they will stop here. The woman in white said. Longzuan asked, then tell me, what should we do? The woman in white froze. If she knew what to do, why would she send a message to Longzuan? Since you don't know what to do, then go quickly. Longzuan snorted coldly, and the phantom immediately dissipated. The 6 of them sighed and stood up. The woman in white looked at the 5 of them and said, do you guys think they will make another move? I don't know. I believe that even Lord Longzuan doesn't know. She told us to wait for them to come. She's probably just trying our luck. The 5 of them shook their heads. All right, let's try our luck. The woman in white said helplessly. Why was Qin Feiyang more of a threat than Qin Batian? Although Qin Batian also had heavenly domain magic stone, he had always kept a low profile and rarely took the initiative to provoke the dragons. But Qin Feiyang was different. He would come out to make a fuss if he had nothing to do. Moreover, it was not a small matter. Every time, it would cause an uproar. When encountering such a situation, not to mention the arrogant dragon clan, no one would be able to take it. Therefore, for the dragons, Qin Feiyang was a problem that needed to be solved as soon as possible. The Black Tortoise World. Qin Feiyang sipped his tea and pondered. Fire Lotus, on the other hand, was busy with Wang Daoyuan, Li Changhe, and He Bao. Qin Feiyang suddenly raised his head and looked at the 5-clawed golden dragon who was standing respectfully at the side. He smiled and said, Xiao Jin, don't just stand there. Sit down and drink tea with me. So. After thinking for a while, he also called Qin Feiyang young master like Li Changhe and Wang Daoyuan. As for the title of young lord, it was a title used by the people of the Dragon Slayer Palace, such as Jiang Dafei and Fan Yunzhang. And he wasn't from the Dragon Slayer Palace, but directly under Qin Feiyang's command, so it was a little inappropriate to call him young lord like Jiang Dafei and the others. Qin Feiyang shook his head and said with a smile, I have a plan. Listen to it and see if it's feasible. Go ahead. The 5-clawed golden dragon said. Logically speaking, Longzuan doesn't know our real purpose, so he should think that we won't take action again. After all, the herbs, crystal veins, and spirit veins that we looted this time are enough for us to use for a lifetime. So when the news passes, we can continue to take action. But we can't judge this kind of thing by common sense. Maybe the ancestral dragons are really waiting for us in one of the city lord's residences. So, my plan is, just in case, I'll enter the inland sea and stall Longzuan and the ancestral dragons. You guys take the opportunity to go to other cities and kill those city lords. Qin Feiyang said. Hearing the first part, the 5-clawed golden dragon was impressed. Young master was really thoughtful. However, when the last sentence was said, the 5-clawed golden dragon god's face stiffened. Entering the inland sea to stall Longzuan and the ancestral dragons, wasn't that courting death? Actually, as long as the sunset divine bow and the other divine artifacts are willing to help, even if I enter the inland sea alone, I will be fine. Qin Feiyang smiled. The 5-clawed golden dragon said, but the key is that they haven't really submitted yet. So, I have to talk to them again. Qin Feiyang smiled, picked up the teacup, raised his head and drank it, then got up and walked toward the castle. Is it that easy? The 5-clawed golden dragon looked at Qin Feiyang's back and muttered to himself. Castle, hall. Qin Feiyang walked into the hall and looked at the sunset divine bow and the other divine artifacts. You don't have to say any more. We heard your conversation with the 5-clawed golden dragon. I have to say, we really admire your courage. Before Qin Feiyang could speak, the sunset divine bow's artifact spirit said. You heard? Qin Feiyang was taken aback and smiled, all right, I don't have to say it again. What's your decision? The sunset divine bow's artifact spirit said, we can help you, but we have a condition. A trace of a smile appeared in Qin Feiyang's eyes as he asked, what conditions? No matter what the four divine artifacts' conditions were, he would agree. The Sunset Divine Bow's artifact spirit said, "Let us go to the origin source of the Black Tortoise world to cultivate." Origin source? Qin Feiyang was stunned. You want to go to the origin source to cultivate? Are you dreaming? But at this moment, the little boy appeared out of thin air and stood in front of Qin Feiyang, looking coldly at the four great divine artifacts. The Sunset Divine Bow's artifact spirit said, "If you don't let us go, we won't help Qin Feiyang." Sure. The little boy put his hands behind his back and said indifferently, "Qin Feiyang, throw them out immediately." What? Qin Feiyang looked at the little boy in astonishment. The four great divine artifacts were something he had painstakingly left behind, and he actually wanted him to throw them out. Hurry up. The little boy urged. But, Qin Feiyang looked a little anxious. The four great divine artifacts now knew all of his secrets. If they were allowed to return to the dragons, then the dragons would be even more unscrupulous when dealing with him in the future. And now, the dragons were at least a little afraid of the castle. The little boy said, "Listen to me." Qin Feiyang looked at the little boy, then at the four great divine artifacts, and nodded helplessly, "All right." The little boy immediately looked at the four great divine artifacts, his eyes full of ridicule. "Qin Feiyang, you must think carefully." The Sunset Divine Bow's artifact spirit said in a deep voice. "As you can see, in the Black Tortoise world, this little brat is actually the biggest. I can't not listen to him." Qin Feiyang shook his head helplessly and raised his hand. Seeing this, the Sunset Divine Bow's artifact spirit hurriedly said, Don't, let's talk things over." Qin Feiyang was surprised. The Sunset Divine Bow actually gave in. This was something he never expected. There was actually a day when the artifact spirit would compromise. "Aren't you very arrogant? What's there to discuss?" The little boy sneered. The Sunset Divine Bow's artifact spirit was silent for a long time, then said, "All right, this sovereign apologizes to you. That's more like it. Since you have a request, you should have the attitude of asking for help." A cold and arrogant smile appeared on the little boy's face. The Sunset Divine Bow's artifact spirit said helplessly, "Whatever you say." "All right. I can let you enter the land of origin, but you have to be obedient in advance. Otherwise, even if the artifact spirit of the castle speaks up for you, it won't work." The little boy said indifferently. Although he looked like a porcelain doll, he was quite dignified. Chapter 2502. Okay. We'll help Qin Feiyang. The artifact spirit of the Sunset Divine Bow said, its tone full of helplessness. "Wait a moment. What did you just say? The castle's spirit is speaking for them?" Qin Feiyang stared at the boy and frowned. "Really? No way. You must have heard wrong." After the boy finished speaking, he disappeared without a trace. Qin Feiyang's face darkened. He really ran faster than a rabbit. But what did the castle's spirit mean? First, it communicated with the four heaven-defying divine artifacts, and now it communicated with the boy, but it didn't communicate with him. "It's poisonous." Sigh. Qin Feiyang shook his head, looked at the four heaven-defying divine artifacts, and smiled. "I was forced to do that just now, I hope you don't take it to heart." "It's okay, I understand." The Sunset Divine Bow said. "But I'm really curious, what kind of place is this source land? Why do you want to go to this source land?" Qin Feiyang said. "This matter, you'll understand in the future. In short, we can help you now." The Sunset Divine Bow's spirit hesitated for a moment and said. Qin Feiyang smiled helplessly. The Sunset Divine Bow's spirit suddenly said, "There's another heaven-defying divine artifact sealed in the Black Tortoise world, right?" "Yes. It's sealed in the Soul Sealing Valley." Qin Feiyang nodded. The Sunset Divine Bao's spirit said, "Take us there." "Why are we looking for it?" Qin Feiyang was suspicious. "The strength of the dragons isn't as simple as you think. If you want to fight against the dragons, you have to strengthen yourself. As for the heaven-defying divine artifacts, each of them has the ability to destroy the world, and are undoubtedly the best help." The Sunset Divine Bao's spirit said. Qin Feiyang nodded in realization. So the 4 heaven-defying divine artifacts were going to help him subdue the divine artifact in the soul-sealing valley. This was indeed a good thing. Because the heaven-defying divine artifact in the soul-sealing valley had always been like a bomb. No one knew when it would explode. Therefore, it would be best if he could subdue it. This heaven-defying divine artifact is very dishonest. How about this? I'll deal with it first. You guys just stay inside my body and bide your time. Qin Feiyang said. All right. The setting sun divine Bao's artifact spirit replied. Immediately. The 4 heaven-defying divine artifacts turned into streaks of light and drilled into Qin Feiyang's sea of qi. They entered a self-sealing state and no aura could be sensed at all. A smile appeared on Qin Feiyang's face. He had finally made the 4 heaven-defying artifacts submit to him. In this way, he was more confident in fighting against the dragons. Whoosh! The next moment, Qin Feiyang disappeared. Soul-sealing valley. It was dead silent as always. A figure suddenly appeared in the sky above the deepest part of soul-sealing valley. A 9-story stone tower stood in the deepest part of the valley. It was completely black and exuded an ancient aura. There were also 2 iron chains on the stone tower. Each of them was as thick as an arm and shone with a dark light. There was a sealing aura on both the iron chains and the stone tower. Qin Feiyang, a hoarse voice sounded. A black figure flew out of the stone tower and landed in front of Qin Feiyang. His tone seemed to be very excited. Long time no see. Qin Feiyang said with a smile. A day outside was 100 years in the castle. It had been more than 100,000 years since he last came to Soul-Sealing Valley. Yes. Thinking back, when we first met, we weren't even gods yet. And now, you've broken through to the early stage of the Paragon God realm. The black figure sighed. Do you regret it? Qin Feiyang asked. Regret? The black figure was stunned. Qin Feiyang said, You lied to me back then. The black figure didn't say anything. Qin Feiyang said, I wasn't sure before, but now, I can guess why you lied to me. Then tell me. The black figure said. You know that the Black Tortoise world is an independent world, so you wanted to take it from me and merge it with the Black Tortoise world. That way, you can become a heaven-defying divine artifact like the castle now. Qin Feiyang said. What? There's already a heaven-defying divine artifact merging with the Black Tortoise world? The black figure was shocked. Qin Feiyang paused for a moment and said, when the castle merged with the Black Tortoise world, there was such a huge commotion. Didn't you notice it? Although the creatures of the Black Tortoise world didn't notice it when the little boy merged, this black figure was the artifact spirit of a heaven-defying divine artifact. Since it was the artifact spirit of a heaven-defying divine artifact, it should have noticed the changes in the Black Tortoise world. The commotion, the black figure murmured. You really didn't notice it? Qin Feiyang was surprised. Many years ago, I did feel that there were some changes in the Black Tortoise world, but I wasn't sure if it was because of the fusion with the heaven-defying divine artifact. The black figure said. Qin Feiyang joked, Are you very disappointed after hearing this news? The black figure fell silent again. It seems that I guessed right. That's your goal. Qin Feiyang sneered. What's done can't be changed. Yes, I accept it. I want to merge with the Black Tortoise world. Because this is the only way for us heaven-defying divine artifacts to transform into sovereign divine artifacts. Only by transforming into a sovereign divine artifact can I take revenge. The black figure said resentfully. Qin Feiyang asked, you want to take revenge on the creation god? Yes. There's also the heaven-devouring beast and the ice dragon. They were the ones who sealed me here and made me suffer countless years of torture and pain. The black figure said angrily. Heaven-devouring beast. Ice dragon. Qin Feiyang was stunned. The black figure waved his hand, and an ice dragon and a golden small beast appeared. They are the heaven-devouring beast and the ice dragon. So it's them. Qin Feiyang's eyes trembled. This golden small beast is the heaven-devouring beast. Wait a minute. What is this heaven-devouring beast? Why have I never heard of it? The heaven-devouring beast is the strongest beast in the infinite worlds. Its terror is not something you can imagine. Mountains, rivers, earth, all living things, it can swallow them all in one gulp. Even a great world can be swallowed in one gulp. The black figure said. What? Swallowing a world. Qin Feiyang's body and mind trembled. He didn't expect this golden small beast to be so terrifying. It could even swallow a world. How unimaginable. Now you know how terrifying the enemy I'm facing is. That's why I wanted to use you to obtain the Black Tortoise world. I had no choice. The black figure sighed. The heaven-devouring beast and the ice dragon are also my enemies. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. All right. I'll help you break the seal. Qin Feiyang said. Really? The black figure was startled and hurriedly said. Otherwise, why do you think I came to you? Tell me, how can I help you break the seal? Qin Feiyang said. The black figure was extremely excited and said, you just need to cut the chains on the stone tower. Qin Feiyang looked at the two chains tied to the stone tower, took out the azure phoenix sword, and tried to cut it. Clang! Sparks flew. However, the chains were not damaged at all. Instead, a crack appeared on the blade of the azure phoenix sword. It's so hard. Qin Feiyang was surprised. Of course. If it can even cut a legendary artifact, then I don't need your help at all. I can break it myself. The black figure said. Qin Feiyang said, in that case, it has to be a heaven-defying artifact. Yes. My main body is sealed in the tower and can't come out. Otherwise, my main body would be able to break the chains. The black figure said. A heaven-defying artifact, Qin Feiyang murmured. His eyes flashed slightly, closed his eyes, and extended his perception infinitely. Soon, he found Hui. Following closely. Qin Feiyang's mind moved, and Hui appeared out of thin air. Hui suddenly appeared here, and his expression was slightly stunned. Then, he turned his head to look at Qin Feiyang and asked suspiciously, what? Lend me the broken sword. Qin Feiyang stretched out his hand and smiled. Broken sword? Hui was stunned. He looked at the black figure, then at the stone tower, and said in surprise, Kid, don't tell me you want to help him break the seal. After being in the Black Tortoise world for so many years, he had long known of the existence of this black figure. Qin Feiyang nodded. You're crazy. What if he fully awakens the moment he escapes? Wouldn't the Black Tortoise world be destroyed on the spot? Hui thought. After the Black Tortoise world and the ancient castle fused, its toughness is the same as the ancient castle. Even if he awakens, he might not be able to destroy the Black Tortoise world. Qin Feiyang transmitted. All right. Even if the Black Tortoise world isn't destroyed, what about the living beings in the Black Tortoise world? Hui asked secretly. Once the heaven-defying artifact displayed its full power, none of the living beings in the Black Tortoise world would be able to survive. Don't worry, I'm prepared. The sunset divine bow and the other 3 heaven-defying artifacts are now in my Qi Ci. Qin Feiyang thought. They've already submitted? Hua Yi was stunned. Yes. Qin Feiyang nodded. How did you do it? Hua Yi asked in surprise. It has nothing to do with me. It was that little boy who wanted them to compromise. Qin Feiyang laughed secretly. This little brat is pretty good. Hua Yi was speechless. To be able to subdue a heaven-defying artifact, he indeed had some ability. He transmitted, but I still feel that something isn't right. Why? Qin Feiyang didn't understand. Hua Yi thought to himself, the might of a heaven-defying divine artifact is not something we can control. Even the sunset divine bow and the others, who are also heaven-defying divine artifacts, would have to spend a great deal of effort to suppress it. Now that you mention it, it seems to make sense. Qin Feiyang nodded thoughtfully and said, but the sunset divine bow and the others seem to be very confident. Of course they're confident. Because they don't care about the life and death of the black tortoise world. If you don't believe me, you can ask them. They must be thinking that if this thing dares to act recklessly, they'll directly release the seal and suppress it. Releasing the seal and fighting 4 against 1, they can naturally suppress it. But you know the consequences better than me. Hua Yi said inwardly. When Qin Feiyang heard this, he couldn't help but break out in cold sweat. There's no mistake. It must be like what Hua Yi said. These heaven-defying divine artifacts were truly cold-blooded and heartless fellows. Luckily, he had called Hua Yi over and had held back, otherwise he really would have been impulsive and broken the chains. Hua Yi transmitted again, the most important thing is that even if you do everything you can to suppress it, you still won't be able to completely control it. You will have to be on guard against it at all times, and in the end it will only be a problem. That makes sense. Qin Feiyang nodded. His words had really woken him up. When he heard the sunset divine bow's artifact spirit say that it would help him subdue this thing, and when he thought about how he could obtain the help of another heaven-defying divine artifact, he had rushed over in a rush, not even thinking about these problems. Luckily, Hua Yi had reminded him in time. It seemed that from now on, no matter how tempting the situation was, he had to maintain a clear mind and reason. You too. The Black Shadow looked at the two of them suspiciously. Weren't they going to help him release the seal? Why weren't they doing anything? Chapter 2503. Qin Feiyang coughed dryly, looked at the Black Shadow, and said, let's talk about unlocking the seal later. After saying that, he disappeared without a trace with Hua Yi, leaving the Black Shadow standing alone in the void in a daze. Wasn't this playing with him? Fun. He was extremely depressed in his heart. Herb Field, Fire Lotus and the others were still busy. Hua Yi looked at everyone and speechlessly looked at Qin Feiyang. I didn't expect you to be so impulsive. Qin Feiyang laughed dryly. Hua Yi said, Sunset Divine Bow, come out. Swish. 4 heaven-defying divine artifacts appeared. Hua Yi said, you guys are too unreasonable. You actually instigated Qin Feiyang to do such a thing. What's unreasonable? It's you guys who worry too much. If you want to achieve great things, you have to do whatever it takes. The Sunset Divine Bow's artifact spirit looked down on Qin Feiyang and Hua Yi. Hua Yi rolled his eyes and coldly snorted, people of different paths can't work together. Being indecisive makes it difficult to achieve great things. The artifact spirit also snorted coldly. Hua Yi raised his eyebrows and said angrily, say that again. So what if I say it? With your little strength, if this sovereign wants to kill you, it's as easy as crushing an ant. The artifact spirit said disdainfully. Clang. Hua Yi immediately took out the broken sword and shouted, if you have the guts, don't unlock the seal. Let's fight for 300 rounds. If you have the guts, put down the broken sword. The artifact spirit said. Less nonsense. Do you dare or not? Huai said. That's 3 words. The artifact spirit said indifferently. Is that the point? Huai roared. This sovereign is too lazy to care about people who don't even know how to count. The artifact spirit was disdainful. Qin Feiyang looked at Huai and the sunset divine Bao with a speechless expression. An artifact spirit and a human being could actually bicker so happily. It was admirable. You guys continue. After Qin Feiyang finished speaking, he walked out of the castle. In fact, Huai and the artifact spirit's bickering was a good sign. Because of bickering, it was easier to deepen the relationship between them. Sooner or later, Huai would return the broken sword to his ancestor. At that time, he would no longer have a heaven-defying divine artifact. Therefore, Qin Feiyang sincerely hoped that the sunset god Bao would fall in love with Huai. In this way, Huai would have a heaven-defying divine artifact that truly belonged to him. In the blink of an eye. Inside the castle. Half a month passed. Fire Lotus and the others were finally done. Right now. The entire Devil's Land, except for the 4 sides of the border, had become a flat land. They were all planted with medicinal herbs. In other words, now, the entire Devil's Land was filled with medicinal fields. Crystal veins and spirit veins were also spread all over the underground of the Devil's Land. They had already reached saturation. In other words, in the future, he could give the herbs, crystal veins, and spirit veins he obtained to the Black Tortoise world. Black Tortoise world. 3,000 years passed quickly. In the outside world, only 30 days had passed, which was equivalent to a month. For the creatures of the divine continent, a month was just a blink of an eye. The news of Qin Feiyang and the others looting the major medicinal fields not only spread throughout the entire north, but also caused a huge uproar in the west, south, and east. They actually looted half of the city lord's mansion in the headquarters. Such a crazy move was really unprecedented. As for Qin Feiyang and Huai, these 2 names were already well known in the divine prefecture. Everyone knew about them. As for Fire Lotus and the 5-clawed golden dragon, everyone knew them, but they didn't know what they were called. They only knew that they were the accomplices of Qin Feiyang and Huai, so no one paid too much attention to them. But Qin Feiyang and Huai were undoubtedly pushed to the teeth of the storm. Wherever there were people, they were talking about them. When Huai heard this news, he felt quite wronged. In the end, he was just an accomplice like Fire Lotus and the 5-clawed golden dragon. The mastermind was Qin Feiyang. Why did they want him to be as famous as Qin Feiyang? People are afraid of being famous, pigs are afraid of being fat. Being famous might not be a good thing. But there was no other way. The situation had already developed to this point. It was also his fault. He was too high profile before. However, a month had passed. The dragon's emissaries and city lords had already relaxed their vigilance and returned to their respective city lords' mansion. In their opinion, it had already been a month. Qin Feiyang still hadn't made a move, so he definitely wouldn't loot the medicinal fields again. The white-clothed woman was still guarding the dragon god palace. The blood-red clothed youth and the other 4 were lurking in 5 different cities. They were also quite depressed. After waiting for so long, there was no movement at all. Their patience was almost worn out. It was also on this day. Qin Feiyang walked out of the ancient castle. 3,000 years had passed in the Black Tortoise world, and the Devil's Land had naturally undergone tremendous changes. Now, as far as the eye could see, it was surrounded by clouds and mist. The entire Devil's Land was like the Dragon God Palace, turning into a sea of clouds, like a fairyland. And these clouds and mist were formed from the essence Qi of the crystal vein and the energy of the spirit vein. In fact, it was even better than the Dragon God Temple. After all, the Devil's Land was much smaller than the Dragon God Palace. Qin Feiyang stood in front of the gate of the ancient castle, glanced at the Devil's Land, and took out the image crystal. Buzz! Soon, a shadow appeared. It was Jiang Dafei. Qin Feiyang said, "Come to the Black Tortoise Mountain." "Yes." Jiang Dafei respectfully replied and immediately set off for the Black Tortoise Mountain. Qin Feiyang also sent a message to Lei Bing. After receiving the order, Lei Bing immediately opened the altar and rushed towards the Black Tortoise Mountain. Qin Feiyang put away the image crystal, closed his eyes, and extended his perception. Feng Daji was cultivating in the cultivation room. 3,000 years had passed in the ancient castle, and his physical body had yet to be reconstructed. This undead realm was indeed a big hurdle. Li Changhe and Wang Daoyuan were also cultivating. However, they were not in the ancient castle, but in the medicinal field of the Devil's Land. The two of them sat separately in the medicinal field, their auras stronger than before. Although they had not broken through to the ninth heaven realm, their cultivation had improved a lot. The fire lotus was currently in the desert of death. As for Hui Yi and the five-clawed golden dragon, the two of them were together, with their arms around each other's shoulders, eating, drinking, and playing in a restaurant. Sure enough, they are a match made in heaven. Qin Feiyang was speechless. Wait! Where were the four heaven-defying divine artifacts? Why didn't he see them? Not in the ancient castle. Not in the Devil's Land. Not in the Netherworld Sea, Soul-Sealing Valley, Desert of Death. Strange. Qin Feiyang frowned, and continued to extend his perception. Soon. Qin Feiyang's eyes were filled with surprise. The Black Tortoise realm had become bigger than before. And this time, the change was particularly obvious. According to his estimation, the four sides of the Black Tortoise realm had expanded by at least 1,000 miles. In terms of diameter, it was more than 2,000 miles. If it continued to develop like this, he believed that it would not be long before the Black Tortoise realm's size would be comparable to the northern region. If other places are like this Devil's Land, with a large number of spirit veins and crystal veins, the Black Tortoise realm's growth will be even faster. The little boy suddenly appeared beside Qin Feiyang and said, "Don't worry. There will be soon." Qin Feiyang smiled. The little boy was taken aback and asked, "Are you ready to act?" Qin Feiyang nodded. "Then let them help." The little boy waved his little hand, and the four heaven-defying divine artifacts suddenly appeared in the void in front of the two. And the axe and broken sword were also there. Qin Feiyang was stunned and looked at the little boy suspiciously. The little boy said, "Since the Sunset Divine Bow and the others have entered the land of Source, then naturally, we can't treat the axe and broken sword unfairly." Qin Feiyang asked, "So, they have been in the land of Source all these years?" And the little boy nodded. "I really don't understand, what benefits will entering the land of Source do for them?" Qin Feiyang was puzzled. "See for yourself." The little boy pouted angrily at the 6 heaven-defying divine artifacts. Qin Feiyang looked at the 6 heaven-defying divine artifacts suspiciously. They were still the same as before, there was no change. Wait. Just as he was about to withdraw his gaze, he suddenly looked at the 6 heaven-defying divine artifacts again. There was a trace of surprise in his eyes. The aura of these 6 divine artifacts seemed to be, vaguely, a little stronger. But in the blink of an eye, it seemed that they had not become stronger. Was it an illusion? You can't believe it, right? In these 3,000 years in the land of Source, they have indeed become a little stronger. But this kind of strength is only a little bit, and it is difficult to notice. But it is undeniable that they are indeed becoming stronger. The little boy said. How is this possible? Other than merging with the world, is there a way to make the heaven-defying divine artifacts stronger? Qin Feiyang was shocked. There are some things that you can't understand. Do your best. Sooner or later, the Black Tortoise world will become a great world that can stand shoulder to shoulder with the ancient world, or even surpass it. The little boy smiled and disappeared. Surpass the ancient world, Qin Feiyang murmured, his eyes revealing a firm belief. Yes. The Black Tortoise world will definitely reach this step. With a thought, Qin Feiyang, Hua Yi, Fire Lotus, Five-Clawed Golden Dragon, Li Changhe, Wang Daoyuan, and Feng Daji immediately appeared in front of Qin Feiyang. Outside. In the valley. Jiang Dafei and Lei Bing arrived one after another. Looking at each other, both of them were a little surprised. Jiang Dafei said with a smile, "It seems that the young lord has made a move again, otherwise, he wouldn't have called both of us here." "Yes." Lei Bing nodded, glanced around, and said, "Young lord, don't tell me that you have been in this Black Tortoise Mountain for the past month without leaving?" "Maybe." Jiang Dafei said. Swish. Before his voice faded, Qin Feiyang appeared in the sky above the valley with Fire Lotus and the others. "Sure enough, you have been in Black Tortoise Mountain all this time." The two looked at each other, immediately flew up and bowed. "I'll have to trouble you to lead the way again." Qin Feiyang looked at the two and smiled. The two hurriedly said, "This is what we should do." "All right then, the same old rules. Change your appearance and split into 4. The only difference is that I won't be traveling with you." Qin Feiyang said. "Qin Dage, where do you plan to go?" Fire Lotus looked at him suspiciously. Five-Clawed Golden Dragon stared at Qin Feiyang in surprise. Was he really going to go to the inner sea alone? "I'm going to the inner sea," Qin Feiyang said. "What?" Everyone's expression changed. Hearing this, Five-Clawed Golden Dragon could not help but shake his head and smile bitterly. This young lord was really a man of his words. "Young lord, you're going to the inner sea alone? Don't joke, that's the nest of the dragons." "We don't agree," Jiang Dafei and Lei Bing said. "I don't agree either." Fire Lotus also shook her head. They all knew what kind of place the inner sea was. Not to mention Qin Feiyang going alone, even if everyone went together, they would be courting death. Chapter 2504. Don't worry, I'm just going to check if the ancestral dragons are lurking in the north. If there's danger, I'll leave immediately. Qin Feiyang smiled comfortingly. Instead, you're comforting us. Everyone was speechless. However, they didn't say anything more, because Qin Feiyang wouldn't change his decision because of them. He was such a person. Feng Daji suddenly said, "Young master, I might have some problems here." "What's the problem?" Qin Feiyang looked at him suspiciously. Feng Daji said, "My body hasn't been rebuilt, so I don't have a sea of qi, so I can't accommodate those medicine fields." Qin Feiyang was taken aback, looked at Lei Bing and asked, "Do you have a space divine object?" "Yes. But the space is very small," Lei Bing said. Qin Feiyang frowned. Suddenly, a figure appeared in his mind, and with a wave of his hand, Madman appeared out of thin air. "What's wrong?" Madman was suspicious. Qin Feiyang smiled and said, "Do me a favor, Feng Daji and Lei Bing don't have a large space divine object, so I'll accompany you." "I see." Madman nodded and said, "But you've been to my space divine object, and the space isn't big either. Can you stop pretending? Your space divine object isn't big, but what about behind those stone doors? It shouldn't be that simple." Qin Feiyang said. Madman raised the corner of his mouth and said, "Okay, I'll accompany them. Anyway, I haven't had a good look around since I came to Divine Land. This isn't going shopping, we have to end it quickly. This time, you should do it secretly as much as possible, and try to kill all the remaining city lords at once." Qin Feiyang said. Jiang Dafei said, Then should we inform our people lurking in the various city lords' mansions and let them leave first, so as not to hurt them? Yes, we need to inform them in advance. You guys send them a message one by one now, I'll go first. When you sense the aura of the heaven-defying divine artifact, you can start to act. With that said, Qin Feiyang activated a transmission altar. Qin Dage, bring the axe. Fire Lotus hurriedly took out the axe and handed it to Qin Feiyang. Bring the broken sword as well. Hua Yi waved his hand, and the broken sword flew towards Qin Feiyang. This, Qin Feiyang was taken aback. He smiled and said, "You should keep it, just in case. We're not in any danger, so why bring them along? And with you leading them, we can rest assured." Fire Lotus said. "All right." Qin Feiyang nodded, put away the axe and broken sword, and stepped onto the altar without looking back. However, Fire Lotus was still very worried. "All right. For heaven-defying divine artifacts have submitted. Including the broken sword and axe, that makes 6 heaven-defying divine artifacts. Besides, he has the gate of space and time. Don't worry, he will be fine." Hua Yi laughed. "I hope so." Fire Lotus muttered. At the same time, Jiang Dafei and Lei Bing took out the image crystal and sent a message to the people lurking in the city lord's mansion. At this moment, the sky was already bright. But the sky seemed a little dim. Thick dark clouds covered the sun, as if it was the eve of a storm. In the inland sea, the waves were rolling and the sound of the waves was deafening. Not far from the coast, a white figure descended on a mountain ridge. It was Qin Feiyang. He did not hide his identity. Because he was here to be bait. If he hid his identity, it would not be of any use. Qin Feiyang stood in the sky and looked at the inland sea. Sea beasts could be seen everywhere, but not a single dragon could be seen. "Let's just collect some blood," Qin Feiyang whispered. With blood, he would be able to activate the slaughter domain. Only by activating the slaughter domain would he have the ability to fight against the dragons. Although the sea beasts in the area near the Dragon God mountain range were almost all killed last time, there was no lack of sea beasts in the sea area. After killing an area, a large number of sea beasts would soon come. As for blood, it could not be stored in the Devil's Land. Because the entire Devil's Land was now planted with medicinal herbs. Qin Feiyang thought for a while and entered the Black Tortoise realm. At the end of the Netherworld Sea, he opened up a huge sinkhole to store blood. Whoosh! The waves were rolling and deafening. Clang! All of a sudden, a sword light tore through the sky and blasted into the sea. Roar! Immediately, whales were everywhere. The corpses of sea beasts continued to float to the surface of the sea. Blood dyed the sea red. Following closely, a young man in white, holding a purple-gold broken sword, swept into the sea like a demon god. Wherever he went, the blood and sea beasts' corpses disappeared. The young man was even more unstoppable. Even the sea beasts of the peak 9th heaven realm were like ants under the broken sword. In less than 100 breaths, the sea beasts within a radius of hundreds of thousands of miles were killed without leaving a single one. The ancestral dragon hasn't come to find me yet. It seems that he's really hiding in the north. If that's the case, then I'll take the opportunity to collect more blood. The young man muttered. With a clang, a rusty axe appeared. This axe was also extremely terrifying. The rust on it seemed to have its own consciousness, emitting a colorful divine light. It looked like a group of beautiful butterflies, covering the sky and earth as they rushed into the deep sea. Roar! Roars and screams continued to resound from the bottom of the sea. At the same time, the broken sword also released tens of thousands of strands of sword chi into the sea. In the blink of an eye, the sea beasts within a radius of tens of thousands of miles were all killed. One by one, the corpses floated to the surface of the sea. Some of the sea beasts' corpses were as large as mountains. Even if they were already dead, the terrifying power was enough to make people tremble in fear. But these corpses all disappeared with a wave of the young man's hand. If someone was here now, they would definitely be trembling in fear. Was this a human or a demon? What's going on? Why is there such a big commotion? In the distant sea, a group of sea beasts at the peak of the ninth heaven realm rushed out of the sea. Their huge eyes were filled with shock. Look! He's the one slaughtering. Damn it, how dare he come to our inland sea to slaughter? Kill him! When the group of sea beasts saw the young man, they immediately rushed towards Qin Fei Yang ferociously. Wait! But suddenly, the sea beast that was running at the front suddenly came to a stop and stared at the young man in bewilderment. He looks familiar. It's him. It's Qin Fei Yang. Why is it him again? Go and inform the Beast King. After recognizing the young man's identity, the sea beasts immediately turned around and fled in panic. Stay here. Qin Fei Yang smiled faintly. The tens of thousands of rust charged toward the sea beasts with an aura that could destroy the world. Roar! Along with the sky-piercing screams, the sea beasts died one after another. Their huge bodies were pierced by the rust. Their bodies were riddled with holes and blood gushed out. Qin Fei Yang used the walk word art and flew over like lightning, collecting the blood and corpses into the blood sea of the black tortoise world. Not bad. It's enough to activate the first stage of the slaughter realm twice. Qin Fei Yang had no sympathy for these sea beasts in the inland sea. Because they were the claws and fangs of the dragons. If he didn't kill them today, they would become his enemies in the future when he fought with the dragons. Beast King, could it be that another sea beast king has come to this area? Qin Fei Yang's eyes flashed. The Beast King in this sea area was the five-clawed golden dragon. Since it was a Beast King, it must have a half-step undying cultivation. If he could subdue it, forget it. He didn't have time to do that now. He just needed to collect more blood. The axe and the broken sword, these two heaven-defying divine artifacts, were simply unstoppable. Soon, the sea beasts in this area were wiped out again. But Qin Fei Yang didn't see the so-called Beast King. It must have received the news and fled to another area. Qin Fei Yang went to the next area. So far, the blood he collected was enough to activate the first stage 5 times. Qin Fei Yang. At this moment, boom! A terrifying aura descended upon the place. Qin Fei Yang looked up and saw a white figure descending above the sea area. It was the woman in white who was guarding the Dragon God Palace. You came really fast. Qin Fei Yang said with a smile. Fast? Actually, it wasn't fast. He had already killed an area of sea beasts. The dragons never thought that Qin Fei Yang would enter the inland sea at this time to hunt sea beasts. So, if it wasn't for the Beast King's report, they wouldn't have noticed it. You're courting death. The woman in white was furious. With a wave of her hand, a snow-white thin sword appeared with a clang. Qin Fei Yang glanced at the thin sword and said with a smile, "There's no need to fight as soon as we meet. What else do I have to say to you?" The woman in white shouted angrily and immediately slashed at Qin Fei Yang with her sword. Humph! Qin Fei Yang snorted from his nose. The broken sword flew out of his hand, carrying a bright purple-gold divine light, and attacked the thin sword. Clang! Sparks flew in all directions, and a destructive storm was immediately born. The sea area below suddenly surged with huge waves. Axe, unlock the seal and revive. Qin Fei Yang shouted. Clang! The axe in his other hand immediately erupted with a shocking aura. And this aura was like a volcanic eruption, crazily soaring. A destructive aura surged out in all directions like an avalanche. Roar! The waves rose thousands of feet high, covering the sky and the sun. Countless sea beasts exploded and died under the terrifying aura of the axe. Blood instantly dyed millions of miles of sea area red. Collect! Qin Feiyang shouted. The blood and corpses immediately turned into a torrent, rushing toward Qin Feiyang, and all of them were collected into the blood sea. In just a short while, he had collected enough blood to open the first stage twice. When the seal of the heaven-defying divine weapon was unlocked, it would destroy the world. If it was not stopped, all the sea beasts in the inland sea would be destroyed. And the axe was still recovering. Its aura became more and more terrifying, and it had already rushed out of the inland sea, crossed the Dragon God mountain range, and rushed toward the Holy Dragon City. What are you doing? The woman in white was shocked and angry. Isn't it obvious? Today, I'm going to fight you dragons to the death. Come on. Don't waste time, unlock the seal of your heaven-defying divine weapon, and let's settle this once and for all. Qin Feiyang raised his head and laughed. That maniacal laughter caused the white-clothed woman to shudder. Qin Feiyang was definitely not going to fight the dragons to the death now. He wanted to gain the upper hand and make the dragons afraid. Chapter 2505. Swoosh! Another 5 figures descended. It was the blood-red youth and the other 4. The 5 of them received the message and immediately rushed over. However, when they saw that the axe was recovering, their expressions changed drastically. The white-clothed woman said in a deep voice, "He wants to fight us to the death here." "What? Here? Bastard, don't go too far." The 5 of them immediately changed their expressions and glared at Qin Feiyang. "You're actually afraid? But it makes sense. Divine Dragon Island is in the center of the inland sea. If the seal of the heaven-defying artifact is undone here, I'm afraid that Divine Dragon Island will be destroyed before we even fight." Qin Feiyang sneered. "Don't threaten us with this. If we really fight, not only Divine Dragon Island, but the north, west, south, and east will also be destroyed. I don't believe that you can do such a thing." The blood-red youth snorted. Divine Dragon Island was in the center of the Divine Land. Therefore, if the seal of the heaven-defying artifact was undone here, a full-scale war would affect the entire Divine Land. Qin Feiyang said, "You're so confident that I won't do such a thing?" "Of course. Because you're Qin Baishan's descendant. To people like you, the common people of the world are more important than your own life." The blood-red youth said. I've said this a long time ago. Don't compare me with my ancestor. My ancestor is my ancestor, and I am me. I will do what my ancestor won't do. I dare to do what my ancestor won't do. I once slaughtered all the living beings on a continent in an instant. Why would I care about that?" Qin Feiyang smiled coldly. He looked at the axe and shouted, "Continue." Boom! The axe's aura became more and more terrifying. What kind of aura is this? It's so terrifying. At this moment, Divine Dragon City had been drowned by the axe's aura. The sky above the city was filled with people. They all looked in the direction of the inland sea with horror in their eyes. Outside the city. Black Tortoise Mountain. This is the axe's aura. Hui Yi and the others stood above the valley and looked in the direction of the inland sea. Their expressions were extremely solemn. "Don't worry about Qin Feiyang. Split into 4 groups and move out immediately. You must complete the mission within an hour." Hui Yi retracted his gaze and looked at everyone. Everyone nodded. Fire Lotus took a deep breath and said, "Then let's go." Li Changhe, Wang Daoyuan, Lei Bing, and Jiang Dafei had already changed their appearances in advance. The 5-clawed golden dragon and madman also concealed their identities. As soon as Fire Lotus finished speaking, Li Changhe and the other three immediately took out the teleportation altar. After the altar was opened, a group of people stepped onto the altar with murderous intent. Inland Sea. The wind howled and the waves surged. The sea beasts fled in terror, but in the end, all the sea beasts within a radius of tens of millions of miles were killed by the divine might of the axe. As far as the eye could see, it had turned into a sea of blood. When the 6 ancestral dragons heard Qin Feiyang's words, they fell silent. Indeed. Although this child was the descendant of Qin Batian, his personality was different from Qin Baishan's. Because for Qin Batian, even the sea beasts wouldn't massacre so wantonly. What are you still hesitating for? I am standing in front of you, make your move. Qin Feiyang glanced at the surrounding sea, looking at the blood-stained seawater and the floating sea beasts' corpses. He felt as if there was a stabilizing needle in his heart. This blood, in addition to the blood collected before, was almost enough to open the third stage. The power of the third stage was comparable to unlocking the seal of a heaven-defying divine artifact. Therefore, even if the 6 ancestral dragons really made their move, he wasn't afraid. Of course. He couldn't really make his move. Because it would implicate too many innocent creatures. Now. He just wanted to show his strong side and restrain the 6 ancestral dragons, to buy enough time for Hui Yi and the others. But in the face of Qin Feiyang's clamor, the 6 ancestral dragons were indifferent. They were also sure that they didn't dare to start a war with Qin Feiyang here. The Divine Dragon Island was the foundation of the dragons, the ancestral land. It could be said that everything about the dragons was on the Divine Dragon Island. If the Divine Dragon Island was destroyed, then even if they killed Qin Feiyang, the dragons would suffer a great loss. Swish! All of a sudden, Qin Feiyang grabbed the axe and the broken sword, turned around and swept towards the sea ahead. Wherever he went, the blood and sea beasts' corpses disappeared. Stop him! The woman in white shouted. The thin sword in her hand flew out, cutting through the sky like lightning, slashing towards Qin Feiyang's back. Axe! Qin Feiyang shouted coldly. The axe also immediately flew out of his hand, chopping towards the thin sword. Clang! The two heaven-defying divine artifacts collided. The destructive aura suddenly swept in all directions. And at the same time, the separated rust quickly swept in front of Qin Feiyang, forming a colorful enchantment to protect Qin Feiyang. Because the destructive force of the collision of the two heaven-defying divine artifacts was not something that Qin Feiyang could withstand. If he didn't protect himself, he would be smashed into pieces in an instant. After the collision of the two heaven-defying divine artifacts, the thin sword was immediately sent flying back to the woman in white. After all, the thin sword had not been unsealed or awakened, so it was naturally no match for the axe. Swish! But at the same time, the young man in red and the other four moved together, surrounding Qin Feiyang in the middle. Qin Feiyang stared blankly. Just what was it that even Long Zun's attitude became so pious? At the same time, in the center of the inland sea, there was a huge island. The size of the island was comparable to the current black tortoise world. The mountain range was undulating and the vegetation was lush. It was majestic and magnificent. In the center of the island, there was an especially tall mountain that was surrounded by clouds and mist. It was like a celestial mountain. As revered dragon's voice sounded, the celestial mountain suddenly erupted with a dazzling milky white divine light. At the same time, a mighty aura surged out like a torrent. Why did the sacred mountain awaken? Could it be that a strong enemy came to Divine Dragon Island? There were countless people on the island. They were all transformed from divine dragons. At this moment, they all rose into the air and looked at the celestial mountain on the island that was shining with divine light. Their eyes were full of surprise. And that mighty aura and that milky white divine light also surged out in all directions with the sacred mountain as the center. Soon, the entire divine dragon island was covered by the divine light. Then, the divine light condensed into a huge barrier that enveloped the entire divine dragon island. But Qin Feiyang didn't know this. Because it was too far away, he couldn't see it. However, he could feel that vast and mighty aura. Under this aura, even with the axe and broken sword beside him to protect him, he couldn't help but feel his hair stand on end. It was as if a peerless fiend god was descending on this place. Qin Feiyang, you'll regret it. The sovereign divine realm has opened. Even if you want to escape now, it's too late. Today is the day you die. The 6 ancestral dragons stared at Qin Feiyang coldly. Sovereign divine realm, what exactly is this? Qin Feiyang was bewildered. Looking at divine dragon island again. After the giant barrier enveloped the entire island, the sacred mountain in the center of the island didn't stop. That milky white divine light surged out continuously, and with divine dragon island as the center, it surged towards the inland sea in all directions. It was extremely fast. It swept across the sky. Finally, that divine light surged above Qin Feiyang and the others like a tide. Qin Feiyang looked up, and the bewilderment in his heart became even stronger. But that divine light didn't stop and continued to surge towards the coast. About 10 breaths later. Boom! Accompanied by an earth-shaking loud sound, the divine light landed on the coast. The next moment, a super-large barrier appeared out of nowhere. If one looked down from the sky, they would see a very shocking scene. This barrier enveloped the entire inland sea. Chapter 2506. The Dominator's Divine Realm, Qin Feiyang murmured. Looking at the barrier in the sky, an inexplicable sense of panic rose in his heart. The 4 sovereigns, 8 divine emperors, and 108 divine generals of the Dragon Slayer Palace are all stronger than you, but do you know why they don't dare to step into the inner sea? The white-clothed woman looked at Qin Feiyang and sneered. Qin Feiyang's heart sank. He asked, is it because of the Dominator's divine realm? That's right. There are 2 barriers in the Dominator's divine realm. One covers Divine Dragon Island, and the other covers the entire inner sea. This is the foundation of the dragons. In this world, no one can break these 2 barriers. Not even a heaven-defying divine artifact with its seal unlocked. The white-clothed woman shouted. What? Even a heaven-defying divine artifact with its seal unlocked can't break this barrier. Qin Feiyang was shocked. This must be a joke. You're surprised, aren't you? But I don't think you've realized the point. Although the Dominator's divine realm exists to protect Divine Dragon Island and the inner sea, it's also a cage. Especially now that you're in the inner sea. You can't break into Divine Dragon Island or escape from the Dominator's divine realm. And now, even if your ancestors come, they can only stand outside the Dominator's divine realm and watch you die. Even your ancestors don't dare to step into the inner sea. Where did you get the courage to come here again and again? The white-clothed woman's eyes were full of contempt. The red-clothed youth and the other 4 also sneered. As for Qin Feiyang, other than shock, there was nothing else in his heart. The Dominator's divine realm. Even a heaven-defying divine artifact couldn't break it. How could there be such a terrifying barrier in the world? I don't believe it. Axe, broken sword, split it. Qin Feiyang shouted. Clang! The axe and broken sword attacked the barrier at the same time. Longzuan and the 6 ancestral dragons had no intention of stopping them. Their eyes were full of mockery. Boom! The 2 heaven-defying divine artifacts slammed into the barrier. However, the barrier didn't even budge, let alone break. How is this possible? Qin Feiyang was dumbfounded. He shouted, "Release the seal completely." Clang! The axe trembled violently in the void, instantly releasing a destructive aura. The entire inland sea began to collapse and sink. All of the sea beasts were howling in pain. However, Qin Feiyang was unscathed under the protection of Sir Rust. Seeing this, the 6 ancestor dragons flew to Long Zun's side and took out their heaven-defying weapons to protect Long Zun and themselves. The internal sea had fallen into a calamity. The sea beasts continued to lose their lives. Clang! Once again, the axe chopped towards the enchantment. A loud bang sounded, but the enchantment was still the same as before. It didn't move at all. "It's true, even a heaven-defying divine artifact can't break it," Qin Feiyang murmured. He couldn't help but feel fear in his heart. As long as the sovereign's divine realm was not broken, he was like a turtle in a jar, isolated and helpless. "Are you in despair?" Long Zun spoke at this time. His words were bone-chilling. Qin Feiyang turned to look at Long Zun. The panic in his eyes could not be concealed. Yes. At this moment, he was unprecedentedly flustered. Originally, he was full of confidence that even if the ancestor dragons and Long Zun were to attack, he would have no problem protecting himself and escaping. However, he never expected that the dragons had such a terrifying trump card. Long Zun said, "Don't you have a space-time transmission artifact? Why don't you give it a try?" "Yes. I still have the space-time gate." Qin Feiyang immediately took out the space-time gate. Long Zun and the 6 ancestor dragons still had no intention of stopping him. The blood-red youth even crossed his arms and looked at Qin Feiyang with a mocking expression. "What?" When the divine power poured into the space-time gate, Qin Feiyang's expression froze again. He couldn't open the space-time gate. To him, this was simply a piece of fatal news. Daring to enter the inner sea, the space-time gate was his greatest reliance. But now, even the space-time gate couldn't be opened. Wasn't this completely without a way out? "I'm going to find the Beast Emperor, you guys kill him." Long Zun said to the 6 ancestor dragons and rushed into the sky. He actually left the sovereign divine realm without being affected at all. "She can leave?" Qin Feiyang was surprised. "Of course, Lord Long Zun can. Not only Lord Long Zun, we can also freely enter and exit the sovereign divine realm. But it's only limited to Lord Long Zun and the 10 ancestor dragons. For example, the clan leaders and elders of the dragons can't enter and exit the sovereign divine realm, let alone a human like you." The white-clothed woman sneered. "Only Long Zun and the 10 ancestor dragons can freely enter and exit the sovereign divine realm," Qin Feiyang whispered. There was indeed no way out. Not to mention that Hui and the others still didn't know the situation here. Even if they knew and rushed to the inner sea, they couldn't help him. Wait. He couldn't let Hui and the others come. Because he couldn't leave the sovereign divine realm, but Long Zun and the 6 ancestor dragons could. If Hui and the others rushed over and exposed their identities, Long Zun and the 6 ancestor dragons would definitely not let them go. And with the strength of Long Zun and the 6 ancestor dragons, killing them was as easy as flipping their hands. Because now, the heaven-defying divine artifact was in his hands. But he also knew. If he didn't return, Hui and the others would definitely come to the inner sea to check the situation. So, he had to break the sovereign divine realm and escape before Hui and the others finished their operation. Thinking of this, Qin Feiyang slowly closed his eyes. "Are you so desperate that you want to give up resisting? We dragons rule the ancient world and hold great power. All living things must worship us. You dare to go against us dragons? You're courting death." The white-clothed woman coldly shouted. Looking at the snow-white thin sword in her hand, she shouted, "Release the seal." Clang! The thin sword trembled slightly, and a monstrous aura immediately erupted. Seeing this, the broken sword and axe uniformly blocked in front of Qin Feiyang. Under the control of the axe's artifact spirit, the multicolored rust condensed into a multicolored battle armor that covered Qin Feiyang's body. Qin Feiyang, I know that you must be a little flustered now, but you have to remember, the more dangerous it is, the calmer you have to be. The axe's spirit secretly shouted. Qin Feiyang still closed his eyes and turned a deaf ear. But if one looked carefully, the nervous expression between his eyebrows had calmed down a lot. We can't be idle. The blood-red clothed youth glanced at the white-clothed woman, turned his head to look at the other four, and laughed. Clang! A blood-red short blade appeared in front of him, and a monstrous evil aura suddenly surged out like a volcanic eruption. The other four looked at each other and smiled. Clang! 4 divine artifacts appeared at the same time. They were a brass shield, a 3-meter-long iron whip, a 3-foot-long black iron rod, and a bronze halberd. Release the seal. As soon as the 4 divine artifacts appeared, the 4 of them roared in unison. Clang! Clang! The 4 divine artifacts immediately shook in the void, and a thunderous sound was produced. Then, 4 streaks of terrifying divine might rolled out crazily in the sky above the sea area. Heaven-defying divine artifacts. 6 ancestor dragons, 6 heaven-defying divine artifacts. This was a terrifying lineup, and it could easily destroy the entire ancient world. Go to hell. The 6 ancestor dragons looked at each other and roared at the same time. The 6 heaven-defying divine artifacts immediately carried an aura of destruction, and they immediately attacked Qin Feiyang, the axe, and the broken sword. At the same time, outside the boundary, in the sky above, Long Zun appeared again, and beside him was a young man in a red robe. This young man looked to be in his 20s, and he was about 1.8 meters tall. Not only was he wearing a red robe, but his long hair was also like flames, dancing in the wind behind him. Is that him? The young man in the red robe looked at Qin Feiyang below and asked with a smile. Yes. Long Zun nodded. Although it's my first time seeing him, it's not difficult to see that he's indeed a dragon among men. The young man in the red robe smiled. You're not allowed to use the term dragon among men to describe humans. This is the greatest humiliation to us dragons. Long Zun said. The young man in the red robe was stunned and shook his head. It's just an adjective, you're too serious. Long Zun raised his eyebrows and said, I don't want to say it again. Okay. I'll pay attention to my words in the future. The young man in the red robe nodded helplessly. And just as the 6 heaven-defying divine artifacts were about to attack Qin Feiyang, the axe, and the broken sword, Qin Feiyang finally opened his eyes. In his eyes, there was no longer the panic from before. It was as calm as a pool of stagnant water. Since he couldn't avoid it, he would face it head-on. Qin Feiyang waved his hand and the 4 heaven-defying divine artifacts, including the sunset bow, appeared. He said lightly, release the seal. Boom! The 4 heaven-defying divine artifacts heard this and directly released the seal. Together with the broken sword and the axe, they attacked the 6 ancestral dragons' heaven-defying divine artifacts. Damn it! As soon as the 6 ancestral dragons saw the sunset bow and the 4 heaven-defying divine artifacts, their eyes were suddenly filled with rage. Outside the boundary, Long Zun's face shrouded in mist was also full of anger. The young man in the red robe also looked surprised. These 4 heaven-defying divine artifacts actually really submitted to Qin Feiyang. The young man in the red robe looked at Qin Feiyang again with a trace of suspicion in his eyes. First, Feng Daji did not hesitate to self-destruct in order to save him. Now, the 4 heaven-defying divine artifacts turned to Qin Feiyang and did not hesitate to attack their former companions. What kind of charm does this little guy have? At the same time, Qin Feiyang also felt that someone was spying on him. When he looked up and saw the young man in the red robe, the first thing he thought of was Hui. But after taking a closer look, only the clothes and hair were somewhat similar. The appearance was completely different. But who was this person? Wait. Long Zun just said that he was going to find the Beast Emperor. Could this young man be the Beast Emperor who ruled the Internal Sea? According to the five-clawed golden dragon, this Beast Emperor had a cultivation base that was not inferior to Yi Zhong and the ancestral dragons. And he also had a supreme divine artifact that could teleport time and space. It seemed that it would not be easy to win this battle. However, this kind of battle must be won. Not only for himself, but also for Fire Lotus and the others.